Chapter 686. Battle of Array Dao, 1. The spirit qi between heaven and earth fluctuated rapidly and surged toward Li Lingtian. The divine array diagram shook in front of the spell seals, and the golden light on it became more and more dazzling. Li Lingtian's cultivation base had reached the 8th Heaven Martial Emperor realm, and he had achieved the 5-element sacred body. He now had more control over the world. No matter how powerful his array Dao was, it still belonged to this world. Becoming a 5-element sacred body was also an improvement in array Dao. In addition to the power of the divine array diagram, he could understand and control all kinds of ancient and primordial divine arrays. Although he could not use it now, he could control a portion of the ancient divine array. 10,000 Spirit Heaven Splitting Formation. Li Lingtian cast the final incantation gesture and tapped it on the divine array diagram. The divine array diagram burst into a golden light, and the entire world was engulfed in this golden light. In the space, an ancient pressure pressed down fiercely. Even in the array formation, all the experts could feel the ancient aura of destruction. However, this ancient aura was fatal because it originated from the ancient Divmi array and was unleashed by Li Lingtian. Its might was shocking. Boundless Heaven Cloud Peak Formation. Eternal Heavenly Mountain. Xianfeng Zhenren's heart trembled when he saw Li Lingtian's array Dao. This was not an ordinary holy array master. Even a divine array master might not be able to cast such a terrifying array. This array was a divine array. Although he had never seen this array before, he could definitely determine that this array was an ancient divine array based on his vision and experience. What kind of existence was an array Dao master who could cast an ancient divine array? It was impossible for him to escape now, as Li Lingtian's 10,000 Spirit Heaven Splitting Array was most likely targeted at him. He had no choice but to use the compass and his most powerful array Dao. He thought of a sentence in his heart: he wouldn't die if he didn't seek death. He had come to provoke Li Lingtian, and now he was in a difficult position. Boom! The might of heaven and earth appeared, and golden light flashed. The spiritual qi between heaven and earth was pervasive, and it bombarded Moon Song Sky City's defensive formation like 10,000 rays of light. At the same time, the golden light also covered Taoist Xianfeng. Since he was courting death, he might as well kill him. However, when the golden light came down, countless mountains appeared in front of Taoist Xianfeng and blocked the golden light. Walala! Walala! Chi 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 chi, rumble! Kacha kacha! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! For a moment, all the experts were stunned. This array path was actually stronger than an attack. The defensive formation with a radius of tens of millions of miles started to tremble. The countless mountains in front of Taoist Xianfeng also started to tremble. Explosions kept popping up in the air like firecrackers. Li Lingtian's expression was grave and serious as he continued to cast hand seals with both hands. Each hand seal pressed down on the divine array diagram. The golden light also increased exponentially along with the incantation gestures. Every incantation gesture caused the defensive formation of Moon Song Sky City to tremble even more violently. At this moment, the countless mountains in front of Taoist Xianfeng finally stabilized. Seeing that his formation had stabilized, Taoist Master Profound Feng's face revealed an excited expression. A strange look flashed in his eyes as he waved his hands continuously. Immediately, a pitch-black aura surged out. The pitch-black aura formed runes of various sizes, and the runes quickly fused together. In front of him, a huge black light screen appeared. The light was as black as a black hole in the void. Humph, you're courting death. You actually dare to use a devil formation. Li Lingtian looked at the demonic formation that Profound Feng Zhenren had cast with a hint of disdain. He no longer looked at Profound Feng Zhenren as he sped up the incantation gesture and cast it. Golden light burst forth, and the defensive array immediately trembled continuously as if it was about to be destroyed. Seeing this situation, the experts of Moon Song Sky City were all shocked. Moon Song Sky City's defensive grand array was a divine array, and a super divine array at that. She did not expect to be so pathetic in front of Li Lingtian. Comparisons were infuriating. Phew! However, at that moment, pitch-black tentacles appeared in the sky. The tentacles were extremely terrifying as they quickly pressed down on Li Lingtian. Moreover, wherever the tentacles passed, the space was rapidly eroded. The eroded space emitted waves of evil aura, which looked extremely terrifying. The Carefree Empire's army was shocked when they saw the pitch-black tentacles in the sky. Furthermore, Li Lingtian was not prepared for them. If they were attacked, no matter how powerful Li Lingtian was, he would not be able to survive. However, none of them dared to disturb Li Lingtian. They could only watch helplessly, hoping that Li Lingtian would be on guard. Chi-chi, chi-chi, countless pitch-black tentacles bombarded Li Lingtian's body. This outcome shocked the army, powerhouses, and the people in Moonsong Sky City. The viciousness of the pitch-black tentacles could be felt as an attack. Even if they did not have such corrosive power, after being struck by such an attack, even a martial saint would disappear into thin air. Li Lingtian was a powerful man, yet he had not expected to be attacked in such a manner. They could not believe what they were seeing. In the minds of all powerhouses and the army, Li Lingtian was an invincible legend. No one had attacked him, yet he was struck by the tentacles of the array formation. They could already imagine Li Lingtian's fate. Chi-chi, chi-chi, the erosive force and the destructive power bombarded Li Lingtian's body continuously. However, the outcome that all the experts had imagined did not happen. On the contrary, Li Lingtian continued to wave his hands and cast a series of incantation gestures. The radiance on the divine array diagram grew brighter, and the Moonsong Sky City's defense array trembled even more violently. Hush! At this moment, the expressions of all the experts changed drastically. They could not help but gasp. Perfected Xianfeng was also looking at Li Lingtian in fear as if he was looking at a monster. Countless mountains began to tremble, but he did not care because Li Lingtian's shock had reached a point where he could not recover. Li Lingtian's defense was able to ignore the attack of a fourth firmament martial saint holy array master. What kind of concept was this? Taoist master Xianfeng was a saint array master at the fourth sky of the martial saint realm. His cultivation was profound and terrifying, and his array Tao was heaven-defying. He was known as the #1 saint array master in the Moonsong Kingdom. Now, the most powerful array Tao was completely ignored by Li Lingtian. Die! At that moment, Li Lingtian shifted his gaze to perfected Xianfeng. His gaze was cold and almost tangible. As soon as the voice fell, golden light bombarded Taoist Xianfeng like a rainstorm. At the same time, the black tentacles that hit him bounced back. Instead of being reflected, it seemed to be under Li Lingtian's control as it rapidly bombarded Xianfeng Zhenren. Its speed was several times faster than when it came. In an instant, the golden light bombarded the mountain, and the black tentacle also hit Taoist Xianfeng at the first moment. Ah! Ah! A series of screams resounded through the world, proving the horror of the black tentacles. The black tentacles pierced through Taoist Xuanfeng's body, and his body was quickly corroded. The erosive power made all the troops and experts tremble. If they were to come into contact with such erosive power, they would also be injured. In the blink of an eye, the screams disappeared. The pitch-black tentacles disappeared as well. Taoist Xianfeng disappeared entirely. Not even a skeleton was left. He was completely corroded. Array Tao! You are simply ignorant in front of me, Sai. Li Lingtian looked at Xianfeng Zhenren, who had disappeared, and said disdainfully. As he spoke, his hands did not stop moving as he continued to shoot hand seals at the divine array diagram. He was calm, but the others could not calm down. The army and experts of the Carefree Empire were shocked and excited. With such a heaven-defying master, what else could they not be satisfied with? Moreover, just this alone made the enemy's heart tremble and their morale plummet. On the other hand, the army and powerhouses on top of the city wall trembled in fear when they witnessed Li Lingtian's means and strength. Li Lingtian's cultivation base was already terrifying enough, but his array Tao was so heaven-defying that it was impossible for him to survive. The attack of a fourth sky martial saint was ignored. Who else dared to fight with him? Divine Yang formation. While the army and powerhouses were still in shock, Li Lingtian's hand seal changed abruptly. Golden rays of light bombarded the defensive Grand Array continuously. The Grand Array trembled as if it was about to be destroyed at any moment. Hurry! Array Tao Master, repair the array. When he saw that the array formation was about to be destroyed, Wan Yen Nu shouted loudly and ordered countless array masters to repair the array formation. They would not allow Li Lingtian to break through the defensive array formation so easily. At the very least, they had to let Li Lingtian consume his true essence. Your Majesty, this formation can't be repaired. A holy array master saw the situation of the array and answered Wan Yen Nu respectfully with a bitter smile on his face. The defensive array was a divine array. Even if he was a holy array master, it was impossible to repair it. Moreover, to repair an array formation, one had to understand the array formation and know how to build it. His cultivation was simply not enough. Furthermore, there was a terrifying array master destroying the array ahead. He didn't want to die like Taoist master Profound Feng. Die! As soon as the Saint Array master finished speaking, a fifth Sky Martial Saint expert's face turned cold. He shouted coldly and waved his hand. A destructive attack landed on the Saint Array master's head. The Holy Array master did not expect his own people to kill him. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and regret, and his life force disappeared in the end. In Moonsong Sky City, countless powerhouses felt a chill in their hearts when they saw the Sacred Array master being killed because the one who attacked was a super powerhouse of the Wan Yen family. Gotcha! When the Divine Yang Array appeared, a destructive pillar of light erupted from the Divine Array diagram. The pillar of light carried the power of heaven and earth as it ruthlessly bombarded the defensive array. The defensive array immediately trembled violently and emitted a shocking explosion. Chapter 687. The True Return of 10,000 Swords. The defensive formation with a radius of tens of millions of miles quickly collapsed in front of the Heavenly Sun formation. The combined power of the 10,000 Spirit Heaven-splitting array and the Divine Array had already shaken the defensive array. Now that the Divine Array had changed, Li Lingtian's Heavenly Sun Array had shattered the defensive array with one strike. In the sky, golden light flashed, as dazzling as 10,000 rays of light. The light pillar of the Heavenly Sun formation pierced through the defensive Grand Formation and directly entered Moonsong Sky City. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded. Countless experts and armies disappeared under this attack. The array quickly disappeared like melting snow. The Moonsong Kingdom's defensive array had stood firm for 10,000 years, but it was finally broken by Li Lingtian on this day. Kill, kill! Kill, kill! Kill, kill! The Grand Array was broken, and the Xiaoyao Empire army cheered non-stop. Following that, shocking shouts of killing rang out. The sound waves shook the heavens. Li Lingtian hovered in the air as he stared coldly at the powerhouses in Moonsong Sky City. The current Moonsong Sky City's army and experts were all exposed to the air, and there was no longer any array formation to rely on. All of you, come at me together. Li Lingtian's true essence circulated throughout his body, and his shocking aura wreaked havoc in the space. With his 5-element sacred body and 8th Heaven Martial Emperor cultivation base, his aura and pressure were heaven-defying. Coupled with the power of the Heavenly Demon region and the Dragon Chi, his aura was even stronger than a 6th Sky Martial Saint. He extended his hand, and the Heavenly Fault Sword appeared in his hand. The Heavenly Fault Sword flashed with a powerful pressure. A man standing in front of an army of millions and countless experts actually dared to say such words. He stood proudly in the air like a god of war, and his disdainful aura shocked countless experts. Kill them! The reward for killing Li Lingtian is 2 billion, and you'll be eligible to cultivate the Great Burning Sky Scripture. When Wan Yen Nu saw Li Lingtian's imposing manner, he felt humiliated. He was the king of the kingdom, yet he was being looked down upon by a martial emperor powerhouse. He was instantly enraged and waved his hand. He shouted loudly. He was willing to pay any price to kill Li Lingtian. With such a great reward, there were bound to be brave men. Instantly, countless powerhouses charged toward Li Lingtian. In the sky, the densely packed experts blocked the air tightly, and the destructive attacks shot over. Heavenly Fault Sword. Myriad swords return. Li Lingtian did not even look at the approaching Martial Emperor and Martial Saint powerhouses. Instead, his eyes were fixed on the longsword in his hand. The crystal-clear longsword continued to flash with a sharp sword intent. The aura on Li Lingtian's body had also become extremely sharp. This aura was the terrifying sword intent. The heavenly sword body and the 5-element sacred body could fuse into one. The 5-element sacred body was a type of sacred body that could accommodate all things in the world and all kinds of attributes in the world. And the heavenly sword physique was an incomparably sharp physique that focused on destruction. Immediately, the destructive sword intent, supported by the five-element saint body, continued to tear through space. At this moment, Li Lingtian was like a sharp sword that stood proudly between heaven and earth. As he muttered to himself, the heavenly fault sword in his hand floated in front of him. He stretched out his hand, and a ball of light appeared before him. He then slapped it, and the ball of light disappeared, exploding out with a world-destroying aura. In an instant, the area within 1,000 meters of him was filled with an endless sword world. Endless swords, endless sword chi, and sword light formed a terrifying sword world. Immediately, countless powerhouses and soldiers in Moonsong Sky City dropped their weapons and flew toward Li Lingtian at high speed. In an instant, a 10,000-meter-wide sword world appeared in the air. Hundreds of thousands of sharp swords and weapons floated in the air, spinning continuously. The myriad returning swords had reached the transcendent state. When it was casually used, it could make the weapons in the world its own. Myriad swords return. This is the true sword Tao. Myriad swords return to the origin. What a terrifying myriad returning swords. This is a sword formation, the most magical and powerful sword formation in the sword path. I wonder how many people will die from this attack. I wonder how many people will be able to withstand it. Not good. It's myriad returning swords. It's myriad returning swords. Immediately, the armies of both sides were shocked when they saw the sword net and sword chi in the sky. An expert could actually control so many weapons. What kind of concept was this? Even if the power of these sword chi and sword light was not enough to kill an expert, with hundreds of thousands of sharp swords and weapons attacking at the same time, even a martial saint would be instantly killed. At the same time, the powerhouses that flew out of Moonsong Sky City also felt the destructive energy. The speed of a martial emperor or martial saint powerhouse was extremely fast. In an instant, they had traveled several miles. By the time Li Lingtian unleashed the myriad returning swords, hundreds and thousands of powerhouses had already arrived near Li Lingtian. It was already too late to escape. You dare to provoke me. That is a great disrespect to me. Should I kill such a disrespectful person? Li Lingtian spoke softly. His voice was not loud, but it could be heard by all the troops and powerhouses. He deserves to be killed. He deserves to be killed. He deserves to be killed. The Carefree Empire's army was thrilled to see Li Lingtian's heaven-defying divine ability, as if it was a mighty technique. Their blood was boiling. Upon hearing Li Lingtian's words, they immediately shouted out loud. Their earth-shattering sound shattered the air. Boom! Li Lingtian looked at the powerhouse in the sky and a sinister smile appeared on his lips. It was like a devil's smile that made countless powerhouses feel fear and regret. With a wave of his hand, hundreds of thousands of sharp swords and weapons formed a sword formation that quickly pressed forward. The sword formation gave off a shocking light. Sword chi, sword silk, and sword light fused together. Wherever they passed, even the air was destroyed and devoured. Li Lingtian was also walking behind the sword formation step by step. The current myriad returning swords was no longer limited to one move, but an array path. The sword formation could destroy the heavens and earth. When the sword silks and sword lights fused together, even an expert would be instantly turned into pieces and devoured. The sword formation obtained blood essence, true essence, and the vitality of experts, and its power became stronger and stronger. Si. Chi. Waves of miserable cries sounded out. The sword silks and sword light destroyed everything in the air. Even martial saints were instantly turned into nothingness. After obtaining the true essence and blood essence of martial saints, the sword formation became more and more terrifying. Hundreds of thousands of sharp swords and weapons spun continuously. Every time they spun, there would be destructive sword chi and sword threads that formed a sword net to reap the lives of experts. They could scream, but they did not completely die. Countless people did not have the time to scream, but they had already died. The world trembled as the destructive aura of death filled the space. All the troops and powerhouses were stunned at this moment. This was not like countless powerhouses killing a martial emperor powerhouse. Instead, it was this martial emperor who slaughtered all the martial emperors and martial saints. This was a battle of destruction by a godlike powerhouse. This was a massacre by a demon-like almighty. At this moment, Wan Yen Nu and the powerhouses of the Moonsong Kingdom were extremely afraid. This was because the Li Ling Tian they had imagined was not as terrifying and powerful as he was. Now that they had witnessed Li Lingtian's heaven-defying abilities, they were completely shaken. Even the Fifth Firmament martial saint powerhouses were shocked. At this moment, the war god also started up. Boom, boom, rumble, rumble. Following the sound of an explosion, endless light shadows blasted out from Li Lingtian's other side. A sword formation devoured everything in the world, and a light shadow destroyed countless experts. Outside Moonsong Sky City, there was a person, a sword formation, a war god, and a sea of light. In this world, everyone's attention was drawn over. However, the endless experts continued to be destroyed. Kill them! Kill them! Kill them! At that moment, Li Lingtian had already entered the sky above Moonsong Sky City. The wargod's light projection was like a shooting star as it bombarded the army and powerhouses in Moonsong Sky City. Li Lingtian's myriad returning swords was also a quick way to reap the lives of powerhouses. In an instant, hundreds and thousands of experts had died. They did not even have the chance to escape. At this moment, Martial Saint Ming Luo also gave the order for the army to attack. They took advantage of this heaven-defying aura to raise their morale. Instantly, a heaven-shaking battle cry sounded out as the 8 million soldiers pressed down like a destructive wave. Although the army was made up of martial arts grandmasters and above, martial arts grandmasters were completely useless in such a big battle. Only by relying on the team could they unleash more power. The army of millions brought along a destructive formation as they quickly pressed down on Moonsong Sky City. Their momentum shook the sky, and the space was filled with an indestructible destructive aura. The army pressed down, and the army in Moonsong Sky City also charged out. The millions of Moonsong Kingdom's army also charged out like a tide. Boom! With a shocking explosion, the two armies collided, emitting a destructive killing intent and dust rising into the sky. The smell of blood tore through the space. The ground collapsed and the space shattered inch by inch. At this moment, martial emperors and martial saints no longer had any iron rules. They all rushed into the army and started killing. The martial emperors and martial saints of both sides found their opponents. Countless armies instantly disappeared. Countless martial emperors and martial saints were killed in an instant in this place. The light projection of the war god shot out like a meteor shower. The powerhouses in the sky fell like raindrops. Li Lingtian's sword formation had already blasted its way into Moonsong Sky City. The sword formation shuttled through the endless experts. Wherever the sword formation passed, the sword net formed by sword silks, sword chi, and sword light continued to devour and destroy the experts. Dominating nebula light. At this moment, a loud roar erupted in the sky, and its voice pierced through the clouds. The voice was loud and heavy. As soon as the voice fell, a destructive pillar of light shot out from the void. The pillar of light carried the aura of death, and the space trembled in front of this pillar of light. Chapter 688. Batian, one of the 10 great martial saints, seeing the appearance of this pillar of light, all the experts trembled. Li Lingtian was equally shocked. He did not expect such a powerful attack to exist in this world. The pillar of light carried the might of heaven as it pierced through this space. In an instant, he had already arrived in front of the sword formation. Boom! Boom! The destructive light beam surpassed the thoughts and vision of the experts and bombarded the sword formation fiercely. The 10,000-meter-wide sword formation quickly trembled. A trace of blood trickled down from the corner of Li Lingtian's mouth. With a flick of his hand seal, a series of hand seals struck the sword formation. The sword formation was strengthened by the spell and stabilized once again. However, the destructive beam of light continued to attack. It was not like other attacks that could determine the winner in one strike. Instead, it bombarded continuously like the desolate 10 consecutive strikes. In the sky, nebulae flashed, and the pillar of light erupted into endless nebulae. The nebula flickered with starlight, and the starlight continued to destroy the sword formation. The clash between the sword formation and the endless light pillars attracted all the armies and experts.
Although the battle between the army and the experts was attracted by the shocking momentum of the sword formation and the pillar of light, it did not stop.
Crash. Kaka. After the endless bombardment, the experts in the sky finally stopped dying. However, there were still many martial emperors and martial saints who were destroyed by the sword formation and the force of the light pillar. After an unknown period of time, space was torn apart. Two ear-piercing sounds erupted. Then, the sword formation exploded and the pillar of light disappeared. In front of Li Lingtian, a crystal-clear longsword was spinning. In his hand was a ball of light which vanished as soon as he tapped it between his eyebrows. The heavenly fault sword was retracted as well, and he looked into the void in the distance. Even though the sword formation had disappeared, the final strike had sent out hundreds of thousands of weapons towards the army. Instantly, hundreds of thousands of soldiers were killed by the weapons. What he took back was his own sharp sword. He didn't want the weapons of other experts. Unless it was a sharp sword that was above heaven artifact, he didn't care about anything else. Come out, I despise sneaky people. Li Lingtian floated in the air and completely ignored the endless powerhouses. However, his eyes were fixed on the depths of the void. All the powerhouses were ignored by Li Lingtian. In his eyes, there was only the powerhouse hidden in the void. He already knew who it was. He was the super expert ranked third among the 10 great martial saints, Loner Batian. When the war started, he had learned about some of the heaven-defying experts in the Moonsong Kingdom. Although he couldn't understand many of the hidden experts, he naturally knew about the 10 great martial saints. The dominating nebula light was the powerful attack of the third strongest martial saint, the Batian Sanren. He is indeed powerful. In the void, an old man in his 50s appeared strangely in front of Li Lingtian as soon as the voice was heard. The old man's eyes were as sharp as lightning. The aura around his body was erratic, but it gave off a threatening feeling. Loner Batian. The third rank of the 10 great martial saints, Batian Sanren. I didn't expect that Loner Batian would come out as well. Batian Sanren is ranked third among the 10 great martial saints. His cultivation base is extremely profound and his supernatural powers are unfathomable. What he just used was the dominating nebula light that Loner Batian is best at. Although the experts of both sides were fighting, they were still discussing among themselves. They looked at Batian Sanren in shock. Every expert had their own halo. Not to mention a martial saint, even a martial supreme was an overlord. Moreover, this person was the third-ranked martial saint of the 10 great martial saints, Batian Sanren. His status was extraordinary and his strength was terrifying. Naturally, he was the center of attention. Loner Batian, I've been waiting for you for a long time. You should be the first person to deal with this seat. If you can't, then it'll be Wan Yen Hao and Wan Yen Ling Feng. If you don't want to die and don't want to become a consumable, then disappear from this lord's sight within 10 seconds. This lord wants to kill Wan Yen Hao and Wan Yen Ling Feng. Li Lingtian's tone was calm and his face was calm. There was a faint smile on his lips. His gaze swept across the countless experts of Moonsong Sky City. Wherever his gaze passed, they all lowered their noble heads. This gaze was like the gaze of a god. Even the king, Wan Yen Nu, couldn't help but avoid this gaze. After she avoided Li Lingtian's gaze, she was enraged and her eyes were bloodshot. This was an indelible insult and humiliation. Ha 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 ha. Li Lingtian, you're not bad but you're still too weak to fight against the powerhouses of the world. I alone am enough to wipe you out and rid the Moonsong Kingdom of evil. The expression on Tyrant's loose cultivator's face changed as he understood that Li Lingtian was right. He was just cannon fodder. With his cultivation at the 6th sky of the martial saint realm, killing a martial supreme was an overwhelming victory. Even if he knew that he was being used, he could only go forward. As he spoke, he did not refute Li Lingtian. Instead, his aura surged rapidly. This action was very simple. There was no reason to be long-winded at all. It was either life or death. Since that's the case, I'll let you try my Ice Fire 9 Heavens 4th Heaven. Li Lingtian did not dare to be careless when he saw that Batian Loose Cultivator was about to make a move. After all, this was the first 6th heaven martial saint he had encountered and he was able to control a magical and terrifying attack.
The light of the dominating nebula just now had already surpassed the heaven-grade divine power. Just that move alone had broken through his 10,000 swords, returning to the origin. He stretched out his hands, and his entire body floated in the air like a feather. The aura of his entire body soared, and his true essence circulated to the limit. His eyes revealed the light of ice and fire. On one side was the world of flames, and on the other side was the world of glaciers. At the same time, the ice soul martial spirit and the flaming sacred body were unleashed. Between heaven and earth, a destructive world of flames and a world of ice formed. The destructive power of the flames and the cold air continued to intertwine. Countless experts were injured or killed by these two extremes, and their eyes were filled with fear. In front of such an expert, martial emperors and martial saints had no chance to participate in the battle at all. They did not even have the strength to resist or retaliate. In his hands, there was a blue light and a purple light. The frost QJ and flaming energy between heaven and earth were emitted from this place. At the same time, it was also emitted from Li Lingtian's body. This was because Li Lingtian was one with the flaming energy and frost qi, forming a world. Ah! Ah! Screams of death rang out continuously as the army battled. The powerhouses from both sides were already in a frenzy, but none of them dared to get close to Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian was like an insurmountable natural moat, causing countless powerhouses to hide in Moon Song Sky City. Only a few powerhouses managed to escape from the distance. The rage of the dominating nebula, the power of heaven's might. Batian's loose cultivator was also shocked by the aura and momentum that Li Lingtian displayed. This was the first time he felt the threat of death. He felt strange. Even when he met Wanyan Lingfeng, he didn't feel this way. However, when he met a martial emperor, he felt this way. The threat of death came from Li Lingtian. He dared not be careless anymore. In a great battle between experts, victory and defeat could be determined in an instant, and it could also be determined in a single move. Seeing Li Lingtian unleash such a powerful move, he did not dare to hold back or disrupt Li Lingtian's energy circulation. At their level, it was difficult to interrupt an opponent's energy circulation. The only thing he had to do was to deal a fatal blow to the other party. This blow would definitely determine victory and death. The true essence in his body had already been circulated to the extreme. The power of the stars between heaven and earth quickly condensed together. The rage of the dominating nebula was the second style of the three styles of dominating heaven. The three styles of dominating heaven was a heaven-defying divine power that circulated the power of the stars for its own use. This kind of divine power that used the power of heaven and earth was a heaven-defying existence, and its power was also heaven-defying and terrifying. Li Lingtian could feel the trembling between heaven and earth. He knew that loner dominating heaven had unleashed the three forms of dominating heaven to the extreme. The power of one strike was enough to destroy the world and tear the sky apart. Just as he had expected, he saw endless star power appearing in the hands of Tyrant's loose cultivator. The star power continued to increase. Although there were no stars in the sky, the true power of the stars was everywhere and at all times. In an instant, a 10-meter-wide pillar of light appeared. The pillar of light absorbed the spiritual qi of heaven and earth and the power of the stars, and it kept expanding crazily. Then, Tyrant's loose cultivator released a drop of blood essence. The blood essence merged into the light pillar. Tyrant's loose cultivator's spirit was lifted, and he looked extremely excited. At the same time, a shocking beam of light shot toward Li Lingtian. The sixth sky of the martial saint realm was extremely powerful. The trump card he used was beyond the imagination of all the experts. Iced fire, 9 heavens, 4th heaven, forbidden. Li Lingtian shifted his gaze to his hands as he looked at the infinite holy flame and the spirit-chilling ice seriously. Then, he suddenly put his hands together, and the world trembled. The world of flames and the world of ice collided instantly. The collision did not result in the expected destruction. Instead, after the two extreme worlds collided, they quickly fused together. At the same time, the fusion was also terrifying. Because of the fusion of the two extremes, the power increased by 10,000 times, and the power was mysterious and powerful. There was an aura of death, an aura of destruction, and an aura of extinction. The three auras fused together. The moment the fused aura appeared, a shocking 5-colored light pillar burst out in front of Li Lingtian.
The 5-colored light pillar struck the light pillar of the dominating nebula's fury. The sky, the earth, all the armies, all the experts, all stopped at this moment. He stared blankly at the 2 pillars of light in the sky. The 2 beams of light pierced through the void and bombarded each other. At this moment, it was as if time had stopped. Many of the experts were shocked and did not dare to breathe loudly. They quietly watched the 2 meteor-like pillars of light in the sky bombard each other. Chapter 689. Killing Tyrant's loose cultivator. 2 shocking pillars of light tore through the void and crashed toward each other like meteors. The tens of millions of troops and countless martial emperors and martial saints from both sides stopped their attacks and looked at the void in shock. Everyone did not dare to make the slightest movement, nor did they dare to breathe loudly. They were afraid of breaking the temporary silence of the void, but the void had never been quiet. The space was pierced by the light pillar, and the destructive force wreaked havoc in the space. In the world, there was a world of ice, a world of flames and a world of stars. The earth trembled as the atmosphere became extremely oppressive. All the experts had ugly expressions on their faces. Rumble. He didn't know how much time had passed. Was it an instant, a second, a day, or a century? Finally, the 2 destructive light pillars collided with each other, creating a shocking explosion. It was as if 2 bright stars had collided and produced a destructive explosion. Instantly, the sky continued to shatter, and the destructive halo scattered in all directions. The 2 halos scattered in all directions. Wherever they passed by, destruction would appear, devouring everything in the world. Li Lingtian's body was struck by the halo as he fell to the ground. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared as if he had vanished from the world. There was no longer any trace of his aura, as if Li Lingtian had never existed. Batian loose cultivator also spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was thrown into the sky like a kite with a broken string. Endless halos and destructive auras continued to bombard him. In the blink of an eye, he was completely thrown into the clouds. The halo was 100 miles wide. Everything within 100 miles was turned into nothingness. The army was destroyed, and the experts died. Only a few martial saints could still stand proudly in the air, but there were traces of blood at the corners of their mouths. After a long time, the world finally calmed down again. However, countless martial artists fell down like rain. The entire world was as terrifying as hell. With a single strike, millions of soldiers were annihilated, and thousands of martial emperors and martial saints were killed. Li Lingtian and Tyrant's loose cultivator, 2 powerful and heaven-defying existences, had vanished from the world. No one knew if they were dead or alive. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure descended from the sky. This figure was none other than Tyrant's loose cultivator. However, at this moment, Tyrant's loose cultivator had bloodstains on the corner of his mouth and his clothes were torn. He looked like a beggar and didn't look like an expert at all. However, his aura was at its peak. His eyes flashed with a sharp light as he sized up the sky vigilantly. It was as if he was looking for something. Needless to say, everyone knew that Tyrant's loose cultivator was looking for Li Lingtian. The earlier attack was heaven-defying and could destroy the world. Tyrant's loose cultivator was injured while Li Lingtian fell. One was in the sky while the other was on the ground. However, Li Lingtian had completely vanished without a trace of his aura. All the powerhouses thought that Li Lingtian had fallen. After all, Batian Wanderer was a 6th heaven martial saint and ranked 3rd among the 10 great martial saints. It was reasonable for him to be killed by Batian loose cultivator's trump card. Hence, everyone suspected that Li Lingtian had fallen. Only a few people knew that Li Lingtian could not have been defeated so quickly. Even if he was defeated, he could not have been killed. Batian loose cultivator understood Li Lingtian's strength. He did not believe that a martial emperor could be so heaven-defying. However, he now understood that Li Lingtian was no less terrifying than Wanyan Lingtian, who was ranked 1st among the 10 great martial saints. One could sense Li Lingtian's cultivation base and strength in one blow. Li Lingtian did not die at all. The battle between the experts had yet to determine a true victor, and the army had yet to make a move. They were all looking at their opponents, occasionally looking up at the sky in search of Li Lingtian. While the powerhouses and the army were searching for Li Lingtian, a mysterious aura was constantly changing between heaven and earth. This shocking change shocked all the troops and experts. Their eyes revealed a look of shock as if they had seen a ghost. Crash! Rumble! Over 10,000 miles away, over 10 mountains started to shake. Each of the mountains had a radius of 100 miles and was 1,000 meters tall. However, at this moment the 10 mountains actually trembled. This commotion shocked countless soldiers and experts. Gradually, their eyes turned into shock. Because more than 10 mountains slowly rose from the ground and floated in the air. More than 10 of these mountains weighed more than billions of kilograms. However, such heavy mountains actually flew by themselves. This was something that made people feel terrifying. In the world, the heavy aura became thicker and thicker. The earth element was the Mother Earth. The thick earth element aura emitted from it made all the armies and experts feel a sense of closeness. However, when they saw more than 10 mountains flying towards them with destructive power, all the experts trembled in fear. When loner Batian, who was in the air, saw this, his expression changed drastically. As a sixth heaven martial saint, he naturally sensed that the changes in the mountain were not simple. He also discovered something strange. He quickly mobilized the genuine vitality in his entire body. Earth-type Tao intent. No, it's the will of the earth element. The expression on loner Batian's face became more and more unsightly. He had the body of domination and cultivated the 3 styles of domination. His strength could be said to be heaven-defying. He knew a lot about some magical physiques and divine powers. Moreover, the will of the earth was the most basic will of the Great Path. However, even if it was the basic will of the Great Path, there were very few people in this world who could control it. Moreover, this will of the Great Path of Earth was an existence that was beyond the limits of the will of the Great Path of Earth. The Tyrant body can destroy the heavens and earth. Looking at the dozen or so mountains shooting toward him from the sky, Batian Sanran couldn't sit still anymore. The mountain looked heavy, but it carried a heavy aura of destruction. The will of the transcendent state was almost destructive, so he naturally did not dare to be careless anymore. He also understood that Li Lingtian was the one who created the mountain. Li Lingtian had mastered the will of the earth Tao that was akin to a transcendent state. More than 10 mountains had already arrived in the sky above Moon Song Sky City. The mountains turned into black shadows and kept bombarding loner Batian. They looked clumsy, but they were extremely agile. The destructive power didn't give him any chance to dodge. Rumble! 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 An earth-shattering explosion erupted in the sky. Tyrant's loose cultivator dodged the impact of more than 10 mountains, but he couldn't dodge at all. He could only fight back with his Tyrant's body. After a few simple collisions, Tyrant's loose cultivator spat out a mouthful of blood. If he was not careful, the other mountains would come pressing down from all directions. Space began to tear apart in front of this destructive power. Ah! Ah! Miserable screams sounded as countless martial saints and martial emperors died in front of this destructive tearing force. At this moment, Tyrant's loose cultivator looked extremely miserable. He was constantly bombarded by more than 10 mountains and had no strength to fight back at all. If it wasn't for the terrifying Tyrant's body, he would have died long ago. Boom! At this moment, a destructive will of the Great Path of Earth erupted between heaven and earth. As the will of the Great Path of Earth appeared, more than a dozen mountains fiercely bombarded toward the Tyrant. Countless mountains that weighed billions of pounds tore through the space and fiercely hit the Tyrant. Ah! Rumble! A tragic cry sounded out as more than 10 mountains collided with each other. Tyrant's loose cultivator was surrounded by more than 10 mountains, but when they surrounded him, he instinctively burst out with destructive pressure and power. He wanted to knock the 10 mountains away, but he was disappointed because he had underestimated the power of the 10 mountains. However, the destructive counterattack of a 6th heaven martial saint with the Tyrant body was equivalent to self-destruction. In addition to the power of more than 10 mountains, a destructive explosion sounded in the air. The shocking power was not weaker than the collision between the heavenly rage of luck and the heavenly rage of luck. On the contrary, it was even more terrifying. The destructive explosion directly bombarded Moon Song Sky City. The power of more than 10 mountains directly landed on Moon Song Sky City. Instantly, destructive chi surged out of Moon Song Sky City. Tens of thousands of troops and experts were destroyed in the dozen mountains, completely suppressed by the destruction of the mountains. At this moment, Li Lingtian appeared in the air as well. His entire body was emitting a thick earth will of the way. Looking at the mountains of Moon Song Sky City, the corners of his mouth revealed a faint smile. Ha 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 ha. At this moment, he could not help but laugh out loud. This was because Moon Song Sky City, the capital city of Moonsong Kingdom, actually had more than 10 mountains inside. It was truly a funny sight. When he laughed, the countless soldiers and experts of the Xiaoyao dynasty couldn't help but laugh as well. They were speechless. His young master had brought the mountain into Moonsong Sky City, and he was still laughing. How could the experts in Moonsong Sky City still have the face to meet others? Damn it, damn it. Wan Yen didn't look like a king anymore. During the battle, his clothes were torn and there were a few wounds on his face. He looked extremely miserable. Seeing the third-ranked martial saint, Batian Wanderer, being killed by Li Lingtian, he was extremely shocked. At the same time, he felt fear and dread. Now that Li Lingtian was laughing like this, was it not a form of humiliation? He was instantly enraged, but it was useless. Although Li Lingtian was only an 8th Heaven Martial Emperor, his strength was terrifying. He had even killed a 6th Heaven Martial Saint. At that moment, Li Lingtian waved his hand and grabbed a storage pouch. He looked at the storage pouch in his palm and stored it into his divine dragon ring without hesitation. He put away his storage bag and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were cold as he looked into Moonsong Sky City. After killing a 6th Sky Martial Saint, there were still a few Heaven-Defying experts who needed to fight. All the experts in the army fought once again. Dazzling battles continued to unfold around Moonsong Sky City. Li Lingtian hovered in the air as he surveyed his surroundings. Chapter 690. 5 Elements Reincarnation, Kill Them. Shouts of killing resounded through the world, and destructive explosions caused the world to tremble. The two armies had already entered a stalemate. It was simply impossible to determine the victor. The only way to determine the victor was to fight against the strong. Martial saints and martial emperors clashed. The carefree empire's powerhouses were several times weaker than those from Moonsong Kingdom. However, Li Lingtian was hovering in the air ahead of them. Even if the powerhouses of Moonsong Sky City wanted to come out, they would take a detour. They were afraid of Li Lingtian's existence and dared not leave Moonsong Sky City for fear that Li Lingtian would destroy it. Kill, kill. At this moment, Wan Yen shouted loudly. He waved one hand and gave an order to all the martial saints and martial emperors. Li Lingtian was already injured. If they did not kill him now, Moonsong Kingdom would be doomed. It appeared that Li Lingtian was not injured, but everyone knew that he was injured during his first battle with Batian's loose cultivator. Swoosh, swoosh. Instantly, hundreds of 5th Sky Martial Saint experts flew out from Moonsong Sky City. With hundreds of 5th Firmament Martial Saints, even Wan Yen Lingfeng, the number 1 of the 10 great martial saints, would have to make a detour, let alone Li Lingtian. Even though the 5th heaven of the martial saint realm was vastly different from the 6th and 7th heaven, if hundreds of 5th heaven martial saints attacked together, no matter how powerful a martial saint was, they would still be killed. Now, he did not expect all the level 5 powerhouses to fly toward Li Lingtian. However, this time, all the martial saints did not attack Li Lingtian immediately. As they were worried that they would be doomed if they met Li Lingtian's myriad returning swords like they did in the beginning, hundreds of 5th heaven martial saints came to a distance of 5 kilometers away from Li Lingtian with a grave expression on their faces. Everyone, let's join forces. A 5th heaven martial saint powerhouse looked at Li Lingtian before shifting his gaze to the other martial saint powerhouses. They were all at the 5th heaven martial saint realm, but they were all afraid of Li Lingtian. Alright, let's attack together. Even if he's a god, we still kill him. Yeah, do it. Don't let him have the chance to stay. Kill him and the Xiaoyao dynasty will fall apart. Join forces. Don't let him defeat us one by one. All of a sudden, all the super martial saints agreed to join hands. It did not matter whether they agreed or not. If they did not join forces, they would not stand a chance against Li Lingtian. When he spoke, his expression was calm. He did not feel that he was shameless at all. A group of super martial saints had joined forces to deal with a martial emperor. It would be embarrassing if word got out. His face was already incomparably thick. The words of hundreds of martial saints instantly made countless armies and experts blush. Shameless. Moonsong Kingdom is indeed powerful. Even their skin is so thick. They are indeed not simple. Martial Saint Ming Luo and the others exclaimed loudly. They were worried for Li Lingtian. In the past, Li Lingtian had to face a few Fifth Firmament martial saints, but now, he had to face hundreds of super martial saints. After they finished speaking, all the experts from the Carefree Empire also followed suit. Instantly, the experts from the Moonsong Kingdom also felt uncomfortable. However, Li Lingtian waved his hand to stop the free and unfettered dynasty powerhouses from discussing. With a gesture, all the powerhouses fell silent. They were waiting for Li Lingtian's instructions to see how he would deal with these super powerhouses. Come at me all at once. I can't be bothered to fight with you all one by one. I like to die together. A faint smile appeared on Li Lingtian's face as he was secretly shocked. He had thought of this ending before. Fortunately, he had a way to deal with it. Otherwise, he would be in trouble this time. Shoo! All the powerhouses were shocked by Li Lingtian's words. What kind of concept was this? One person could deal with hundreds of super martial saints at the same time. Not to mention a martial supreme. Even a 7th or 8th heaven martial saint would not dare to say such a thing. Could Li Lingtian have gone mad? This was not right either. If Li Lingtian had gone mad, he would not have been this powerful. Could it be that he really had the ability to scare off all powerhouses? By the time Li Lingtian finished speaking, Huangfu Yuyan and the rest had already left the war god. Her ethereal figure was flying in the air and her beauty stunned the entire army and powerhouses. Any one of these girls was a peerless beauty that could stun the world. He did not expect so many of them to gather at once. Huangfu Yuyan and the others had also arrived by Li Lingtian's side. They did not have any weapons in their hands and did not look like they were about to fight. This commotion puzzled countless experts. Even if they were to fight, these peerless beauties were all martial emperors. They were not qualified to participate in such a big battle at all. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 5 girls moved quickly and surrounded Li Lingtian. Instantly, the 5 women cast all kinds of spells. A rank 9 martial emperor was simply cannon fodder in this battle. However, at this moment, the 5 girls had become the helpers of a powerhouse like Li Lingtian. Upon seeing Li Lingtian and the rest's movements, the hundreds of super martial saints and all the powerhouses were astonished. They were certain that these girls were helping Li Lingtian deal with all the super powerhouses. Even if the martial emperors joined forces, they would not be as strong as a martial honor. Could it be that they wanted to use 5 girls to deal with all the super experts? However, none of the experts had any more doubts. Instead, they looked at the sky in shock. Huangfu Yuyan and the rest unleashed all of their quintessential essence. The 5 streams of quintessential essence fused together and connected with Li Lingtian. They began to revolve rapidly around Li Lingtian. Meanwhile, Li Lingtian's eyes were closed as he waved his hands continuously, casting mysterious and obscure hand seals. In his body, the heaven and earth reincarnation art circulated, the true dragon body barrier circulated, and the limitless feather coat activated. It quickly balanced the quintessential essence of Huangfu Yuyan and the others, causing the quintessential essence to fuse more perfectly. In the air, wisps of heaven and earth chi drifted out, just like the ancient aura of this world. Moreover, the world was changing rapidly. The sky was flashing with primitive destructive energy, as if this world had reached the beginning of the world. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 5 figures burst forth with a shocking aura. Their aura rose from Tier 9 Martial Royal Realm and continued to rise until Li Lingtian's cultivation base reached the 8th Heaven Martial Emperor Realm. When the 5 figures' aura and cultivation reached the 8th Heaven Martial Emperor Realm, Li Lingtian's entire body floated in the air. The 5 girls also floated in the void. At this moment, the 5 girls were like goddesses. His face was solemn and untouchable, and his entire body was emitting a faint mysterious aura. Li Lingtian was like a god of war. With a flip of his hands, the world trembled. This action, all the experts understood what was going on. This was a heaven-defying array. An array that was no different from dual cultivation. The 5 beautiful girls were Li Lingtian's wives. Although they were only Tier 9 martial emperors, they had cast a magical array to share their cultivation. Not good. Attack. They've cast a formation. Hurry up, don't let their formation take shape. At once, one of the hundreds of supreme martial saints shouted out as they glared at Li Lingtian and the others. Then, their bodies flashed and they launched a shocking attack at Li Lingtian and the others. However, most of the attacks were directed at Huangfu Yuyan and the others because they knew that Li Lingtian was basically immune to attacks and was difficult to kill. However, Huangfu Yuyan and the others were different. Their cultivation was only at the martial royal realm, and the pressure of a martial honor could suppress them. Even if they had reached the 8th heaven of the martial emperor realm, it was not their true cultivation. Now, as long as the 5 of them were killed, Li Lingtian would not be able to cast his array formation. The 5 elements of heaven and earth. The 5 elements reincarnation. Li Lingtian looked at the super powerhouses below who were about to attack Huangfu Yuyan and the others with a look of disdain. With a gesture of his hands, Huangfu Yuyan and the others disappeared like meteors. The 5 of them were separated by 1,000 meters, but a strange scene appeared. Hundreds of 5th sky martial saints were surrounded by 5 girls. This situation meant that they were going to surround and kill over 100 martial saints. This scene caused many experts to tremble. They had never expected things to turn out like this. They had never thought that there would be such a strange thing in this world. A few weak women who could not withstand a single blow actually wanted to surround and kill all the super martial saints. Li Lingtian hovered in the center of the warrior sage powerhouse, which was also the center of Huangfu Yuyan and the rest. Boom! 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 Before the shocking attack reached the sky, a shocking explosion erupted. Li Lingtian and the 5 girls vanished into thin air, leaving only 6 flashes of light. In an instant, all the figures disappeared. There was a tremor in the world, but hundreds of supreme martial saints had disappeared along with Li Lingtian and the others. The armies of the Carefree Empire and the Moonsong Kingdom, as well as all the experts, were shocked when they saw everyone disappear. The experts who had disappeared, Lingtian and the rest, never appeared again. However, the sky was filled with the sounds of explosions and the furious roars of the experts. The space trembled and the air distorted. Rip! Kacha! Boom! Boom! Rumble! The space between heaven and earth trembled continuously. There were constant sounds of space being torn apart and space being destroyed. The sound of experts bombarding could be heard, but it was impossible to see where the experts had gone, or it was as if they had become invisible. This strange scene shocked all the troops and experts. What kind of magical existence was this 5 elements reincarnation formation? It was so strange that it made hundreds of martial saints disappear. Chapter 691. A Heaven-Defying Breakthrough. Heaven and earth trembled, but the martial saint powerhouses, Li Lingtian and the rest, were nowhere to be seen. The hundreds of experts seemed to have disappeared into thin air. If it weren't for the explosion in the air, they would have thought that these experts had disappeared. At this moment, the sound of blood spurting rang out, and the space trembled violently again. Instantly, hundreds of martial saints appeared again. They appeared at their original spot. However, the expressions of these martial saint powerhouses were not very good. He even said it in a very ugly manner. There was blood at the corner of his mouth, and his entire body was extremely weak. His true essence had also been exhausted. Swoosh, swoosh. In the sky, Li Lingtian and the 5 girls appeared once again as soon as the martial saint powerhouses appeared. Similarly, 5 girls surrounded hundreds of martial saint powerhouses while Li Lingtian hovered above them. Waves of strange aura emerged from Li Lingtian's body. The 5 girls' primordial qi had also fused with Li Lingtian's primordial qi, forming a strange light shield around the entire space. The light shield enveloped all the martial saint super experts. The army and experts of the Carefree Dynasty and the Moonsong Kingdom were even more shocked when they saw this scene. Initially, when Li Lingtian and the others cast the array, none of the powerhouses believed that Li Lingtian was a match for the combined strength of these powerhouses. Now, it seemed that these powerhouses were completely suppressed by Li Lingtian's group of 6. They had no chance of resisting. From the beginning to the end, hundreds of martial saints were suppressed in this light barrier. Their expressions were unfocused. The world trembled continuously, and its aura was suppressed to the extreme. In front of the 5 elements reincarnation, You don't even have the chance to reincarnate. In front of me, you don't even have the qualifications to resist. Li Lingtian's gaze was like a torch as he glared at the hundreds of supreme martial saints with a bloodthirsty smile on his face. His aura was unleashed to the maximum and the sky was shaking under his aura. As soon as he finished speaking, he cast a spell and pointed it at the void. Suddenly, the void trembled, and a strange aura poured down from the 9 heavens. The mysterious and strange aura directly landed on the light shield. Li Lingtian extended his hands and made an obscure and strange gesture. At the same time, Tang Qingyue and the others waved their hands and made a mysterious and solemn gesture. Immediately, Li Lingtian's aura and quintessential essence quickly connected with the 5 girls. The light shield trembled for a while. The aura, vital essence, consciousness, and life force of hundreds of martial saint experts were rapidly flowing away. The lost lifespan, aura, and vital essence all entered the light shield. Devouring body. Seeing everything in the sky, all the experts were shocked. If even hundreds of 5th firmament martial saints were controlled, who else could be Li Lingtian's match? It was unknown who shouted, but his voice was extremely shocked and trembling. Devouring body? Is he going to devour the lifespan, essence, chi, and vitality of all the experts? This is too evil and terrifying. Is he courting death? Hundreds of martial saints, true energy and cultivation can easily make him explode. The superpower houses in Moonsong Kingdom were shocked by Li Lingtian and the others' actions as well as the scene before them. Hundreds of martial saints were defeated without any resistance in the light shield. Moreover, at this time, his true essence, cultivation and vitality were still being devoured. It was indeed heaven-defying. Li Lingtian completely ignored the exclamations and discussions of the powerhouses. He spread his arms and allowed the violent vitality and true essence to surge in. At the same time, he unleashed the heaven and earth reincarnation technique and the 5 elements will was fully unleashed. Immediately, the will of the great path raged between heaven and earth, and countless armies and experts were destroyed in the will of the great path. The Moonsong Kingdom's army and experts retreated quickly, and so did the Carefree Dynasty's army. The space was made up of hundreds of 5th firmament martial saints floating in the air. The light shield trapped these powerhouses while Li Lingtian hovered above them. The expressions of Tang Qingyue and the others changed rapidly. This was because the 5 of them had to help Li Lingtian refine the cultivation base and true essence, as well as the powerful vitality and essence chi. Within the light barrier, the eyes of the 100 or so supreme experts were filled with extreme shock. In the end, they gradually turned into despair. True essence, longevity, life force, and cultivation were all constantly flowing away. Li Lingtian floated in the air. The 5 elements sacred body supported the 5 elements will's transformation, and absorbed all the powerhouses' true essence. The spirit chi between heaven and earth was also quickly used. At that moment, blood trickled down from the corner of Li Lingtian's mouth. Tang Qingyue and the others were also in pain. Blood trickled down the corners of their mouths and they looked extremely miserable. Roar! Ah! Heaven and earth trembled continuously. Not a single breath of air could enter within 100 miles of Li Lingtian. Even a martial saint powerhouse could not enter, let alone other powerhouses. Li Lingtian's eyes were bloodshot as he had reached the limit of his endurance. The pain of absorbing quintessential essence and refining life force was even more painful than in the dragon energy world. He kept roaring to reduce the pain. All the troops and powerhouses stared at Li Lingtian and the rest in horror. Li Lingtian only stopped when hundreds of supreme martial saints had turned into ashes and vanished into thin air. The light barrier was still there, but Tang Qingyue and the other 3 women were also in pain. However, the pain had now become lighter. After a brief pause, Li Lingtian began to wave his hands. Under the influence of Li Lingtian's aura, Tang Qingyue and the others also cast their mysterious and obscure spells. Blood mist filled the sky as if the end of the world had arrived. Li Lingtian, Tang Qingyue, and the rest's aura surged and continued to rise. Peak 8th Heaven Martial Emperor Realm. 9th Level Martial Emperor Realm. All the powerhouses exclaimed in surprise when they saw Li Lingtian's aura and cultivation base. In an instant, he had advanced by 1 heaven. Breaking through in front of all the troops and experts made everyone tremble with envy. However, Li Lingtian's aura did not stop there as it continued to rise. Peak 9th level Martial Emperor Realm. Peak 9th level Martial Emperor Realm. The peak of the 9th level Martial Emperor Realm. His aura and cultivation stopped at the peak of the 9th level Martial Emperor Realm. He had reached an extreme point, a critical point. However, due to the bottleneck and opportunity, his realm remained at the peak of the 9th level Martial Emperor Realm. All the powerhouses were shocked. If Li Lingtian had not reached the bottleneck in the 9th heaven, his realm would have continued to rise. In the blink of an eye, Li Lingtian's cultivation base had risen from level 8 to level 9 Martial Emperor peak complete. The peak of rank 9 Martial Emperor. First level Supreme Realm. Second level of the Supreme Realm. Just as the powerhouses were shocked by Li Lingtian's sudden increase in cultivation base, Tang Qingyue and the rest's auras were changing rapidly on the other side. Initially, they were both Tier 9 Martial Emperors. However, Li Lingtian's cultivation had reached a bottleneck and he could no longer advance any further. Powerful true essence quickly flowed towards them, as if it wanted to balance their array formation. The 5 women obtained powerful true essence power and directly broke through the bottleneck of the Martial Emperor realm. They rushed into the Martial Honor realm and became Martial Honors. Li Lingtian's 5 elements will, 5 elements sacred body, and all sorts of heaven-defying talents surged toward Tang Qingyue and the others at that moment. At the same time, the 5 women's cultivation levels continued to rise. 3rd level of the Supreme Realm. 4th level Supreme Realm. 5th level Supreme Realm. 6th level Supreme Realm. Peak 6th level Supreme Realm. Finally, Li Lingtian's state stabilized at the peak of 6th heaven Martial Honored Realm. The violent aura and true essence on his body also stabilized slightly. His entire body emitted a heaven-defying might, and his eyes were like torches. In the 5 elements reincarnation, all the supreme martial saints were killed. Their true essence cultivation and vitality were devoured and refined, becoming Li Lingtian's cultivation base, which improved Li Lingtian's cultivation base. At this moment, the cultivation of the 6 people soared, and their auras were shocking. The 5 elements reincarnation was even more powerful. He had been injured, but now he had completely recovered, and his true essence had reached the peak of its peak. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Tang Qingyue and the others exchanged glances with Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian nodded before the 5 women returned to the war god and entered it to cultivate and stabilize their realms. From a rank 9 martial emperor to a rank 6 martial honored realm, this leap was simply heaven-defying. They couldn't get used to such a change in their cultivation realm. They had to get used to it now so that it wouldn't affect their future cultivation. According to their plan, as long as they executed the 5 elements reincarnation and killed all the superior powerhouses, Li Lingtian would be able to handle the rest. Hush whoosh, all the soldiers and experts gasped at this moment. There was an uproar immediately. In such a great battle, a martial emperor was fighting hundreds of 5th sky martial saints. Originally, any martial saint would be able to crush a martial emperor. However, a martial monarch realm expert had defeated all the martial saints after joining forces with a few martial monarchs. In the end, he even imprisoned hundreds of super martial saints and devoured their true yuan cultivation to achieve his own cultivation. He had broken through 2 realms in a row in front of millions of troops and experts, reaching the peak of the 9th level martial emperor realm. Moreover, the girls had also advanced from rank 9 martial emperors to rank 6 martial honors. This was a heaven-defying leap. All the powerhouses were horrified. They trembled as they looked at Li Lingtian. Wan Yen knew, you can call your Wan Yen family's experts out now. Do you want me to invite them out one by one? Even if Li Lingtian's true origin was not circulating, it was at its peak. Every single move he made was filled with destruction chi. As he spoke, his tone was domineering and domineering. His entire person was like a god of war floating in the void. He looked at Wan Yen Nu with an attitude of looking down at the world. At this moment, Wan Yen Nu didn't dare to breathe loudly. As the king of the kingdom, he didn't dare to speak like a sick cat. Wan Yen Ling Feng domineering, arrogant, and looking down on the world. A faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth as his gaze swept across all the experts. Wherever his gaze passed, all the powerhouses lowered their heads and dared not meet Li Lingtian's gaze. The sky was filled with a strange and oppressive atmosphere. The army of the Moonsong Kingdom had been destroyed, and hundreds of super martial saints had been killed. Li Lingtian and his wife had even devoured the cultivation base of over 100 powerhouses to achieve a breakthrough. In terms of cultivation base, no one present dared to go against Li Lingtian. Warwick wanted to fly into a rage, but he no longer had the guts to do so. He was a third heaven martial saint and was like an ant in front of Li Lingtian. Going up to him would only be courting death. Now, over 105th sky martial saints in the Moonsong Kingdom had been killed. It would be difficult to recover from this loss even after another 1,000 years. For a moment, no one spoke in the air. There was only the battle between the experts and the army. In the army, the morale of the Carefree dynasty was soaring, and the Moonsong Kingdom was basically defeated. Hundreds of supreme martial saints had been killed and Li Lingtian and the others had become even more powerful. They had lost all will to fight. The 3 legions of the Carefree dynasty and their army of several million continued to sweep through the army of the Moonsong Kingdom. Although they couldn't charge into the city for the time being, the millions of soldiers outside relied on the magical array formations and were almost invincible. Li Lingtian, today is the day you die. At this moment, a faint voice sounded in the air. The voice carried a shocking pressure. Just this voice alone gave countless experts a pressure of destruction and death. Following that, the sky trembled slightly and countless grids appeared. The scarlet grid looked extremely strange in the air. When the grid appeared, a young man was floating in the center of the grid. His entire body was one with the grid, and the situation was extremely mysterious. The young man's entire body was covered in fiery red clothes. Coupled with the grid, he looked extremely evil. Similarly, the sky trembled in front of the grid and the man. Strong winds raged, and a terrifying aura tore through space. Wanyan Lingfeng, the first of the 10 great martial saints. Wanyan Lingfeng, the strongest of the 10 martial saints. Wanyan Lingfeng. Wanyan Linfeng, 7th heaven martial saint realm. 7th heaven. He's actually a 7th heaven martial saint. All the experts were shocked when they saw the young man in the sky. His terrifying destructive cultivation base made the experts who saw him feel fear and dread. The 7th sky of the martial saint realm was a legendary existence. Level 7 and Level 6 were on completely different levels. In the divine martial continent, there was a huge gap even in a small realm. There was a gap between Stage 3 and Stage 4, and a gap between Stage 6 and Stage 7. Similarly, there was a gap between Stage 3 and Stage 4, and a gap between Stage 6 and Stage 7. Tier 9 and the 9 heavens were actually the early stage, middle stage and late stage. Although the distance between the two could not be compared to a major realm, the difference was still very far. Similarly, reaching the 9th level or the 9th heaven of a realm was also an extremely terrifying realm. Other small realms could not be compared at all. Wanyan Lingfeng reached the 7th heaven and left all the powerhouses behind by a few streets. Even if there were 2 powerhouses at the peak of the 6th sky of the martial saint realm, they would be easily killed by a 7th sky martial saint like him. Wanyan Lingfeng, the #1 expert of the 10 great martial saints? Haha, in my eyes, he's just a piece of trash. Or rather, an idiot. Trash. Li Lingtian's calm expression was a stark contrast to the other powerhouses' shock. He looked at Wanyan Lingfeng with disdain. Even if the other party was at the 7th heaven, so what? He had also reached the peak of the 9th heaven martial emperor realm. His strength had reached a terrifying level. His confidence also soared. Moreover, fear wasn't his personality and style. The stronger the enemy, the more interested he was in killing them. This Wanyan Lingfeng was the strongest among the 10 martial saints. In the past, he was still a little afraid, but now there was no fear at all. On the contrary, there was a fighting spirit. Battle intent was constantly aroused in his body, and his aura began to rise. This situation was directly a battle, and talking was unnecessary. However, after Li Lingtian spoke, all the powerhouses were stunned. He actually called the #1 expert of the 10 great martial saints a good-for-nothing and an idiot. Moreover, he used a lot of strength in the last 2 words. It was a tone of contempt and insult. Li Lingtian was the only one who had the guts to call the top powerhouse of the 10 great martial saints a good-for-nothing. Damn it! Wan Yen Lingfeng staggered and almost fell down. He could display his heaven-defying cultivation and strength by appearing in a domineering manner. He wanted to see the admiration in the eyes of countless experts and the trembling expressions of countless experts. After he appeared, he indeed made countless experts fear him and achieved a satisfactory effect. However, he did not expect that all his preparations would be destroyed by a simple sentence from Li Lingtian. Furthermore, all the effects were taken away by Li Lingtian. He was furious in his heart, and his expression changed drastically. The #1 genius of the Moonsong Kingdom and the #1 expert of the 10 great martial saints had always been high and mighty, an existence that people looked up to and worshipped. But now, he was completely defeated by this martial emperor. How could he accept being called trash by a martial emperor powerhouse whom he had always ignored? The true essence in his body circulated to the extreme. Immediately, the sky trembled and the ground continued to collapse. He was as terrifying as a god of destruction. Boom! At this moment, an explosion sounded in the air, and a destructive aura soared into the sky. The aura and explosion were not emitted by Li Lingtian and Wan Yen Lingfeng. All the powerhouses looked in the direction of the aura and explosion. When they saw the place where the explosion had occurred, the Xiaoyao dynasty army and experts were disdainful and furious. A black-robed young man floated in the air, his entire body emitting a terrifying aura. A terrifying pressure erupted. However, there was a trace of blood at the corner of the black-robed youth's mouth. He was looking in the direction of the war god in shock. All of a sudden, the army and powerhouses understood that the powerhouse was preparing to ambush the people on the war god. This way, they could strike Li Lingtian and threaten him with his family. Despicable methods made experts feel disdain and blush. On the war god, there was a beautiful woman with a faint smile on her beautiful face. This smile was enough to make all the men in the world go crazy. However, no one dared to go crazy at this moment. The girl's jade-like fingers made a strange gesture. It seemed that the injured youth in the air was injured by the girl on the war god. Wan Yen Hao, the fourth of the 10 great martial saints. Wan Yen Hao? Shameless. The 10 great martial saints actually know how to use despicable methods. 10 martial saints, your Wan Yen family is the most shameless. I've embarrassed the martial saint. Wan Yen Hao, Wan Yen Lingfeng. Are these the 10 great martial saints of your Wan Yen family? Haha, does your Wan Yen family still want face? The experts of the Xiaoyao Empire looked at Wan Yen Hao and shouted loudly. At that moment, all the powerhouses were extremely excited. Li Lingtian's cultivation base had increased tremendously and he could now fight Wan Yen Lingfeng. The other one of the 10 martial saints was injured by a girl on the war god. This way, the Carefree Dynasty's forces could fight against the Moonsong Kingdom's forces. At the same time, the army and experts of Moonsong Kingdom felt humiliated. If it were any other expert who sneaked up on him and used despicable methods, he would be speechless. However, as the 4th-ranked expert of the 10 great martial saints, he actually used such methods. It was indeed embarrassing. Trash, you are trash. The Wan Yen family's people are all trash. This seat was wondering why the two trash didn't come out together. This is the means that your Wan Yen family should have. You can't forget it and think that your Wan Yen family has changed. So this seat thought too much. Your Wan Yen family has indeed changed. You've become even more shameless. You want to use this seat's relatives to threaten this seat. Haha, really fucking trash. Since you've come out, let's all attack together. This seat wants to see how many people of your Wan Yen family can die. Li Lingtian said coldly with a frosty expression on his face. Murderous intent emerged. Anything could be forgiven, but those who wanted to threaten his family and women could not be forgiven. They could not be forgiven. As he spoke, he laughed loudly. He laughed wildly, but only Shenyuan Yingying and the others understood that Li Lingtian was truly filled with killing intent. He had decided to kill them all. He wanted to destroy the Wan Yen family, leaving not even a single blade of grass alive, not even a single dog or chicken. Swoosh! All the powerhouses could feel Li Lingtian's destructive killing intent. Killing intent wreaked havoc in the air as if it was tangible. Killing intent swept across the space like a strong wind. With Li Lingtian's cultivation base, he could use any aura as a destructive attack.
At that moment, the woman on the war god flew out and disappeared in a flash. When she reappeared, she was already beside Li Lingtian. Even though she was floating in the air, she was snuggling up to Li Lingtian. She looked gentle and adorable, just like a gentle little woman. Instantly, all the powerhouses were filled with admiration. This was what a celestial couple was like. Their clothes fluttered in the wind as they stood proudly in the air. The two of them looked down on all the experts. Shenyuan Yingying reached out to hold Li Lingtian's hand. Her face was extremely gentle as she completely ignored all the powerhouses, including the top and fourth-ranking powerhouses of the 10 great martial saints. In her eyes, Li Lingtian was the only person in the world. Indeed, in her eyes, her big brother Lingtian was the most powerful. So what if he was only ranked first and fourth among the 10 great martial saints? He was not worried about these experts at all. With her and him working together, he did not care about the so-called 10 great martial saints at all. This situation infuriated Wanyan Lingfeng. He glared fiercely at Li Lingtian and the other man as if he wanted to eat them alive. He was itching to rip Li Lingtian's tendons and skin him alive. Battle of the strongest big brother Lingtian. Isn't Yingying powerful? Shenyuan Yingying raised her head and looked at Li Lingtian. Her beautiful eyes were filled with gentleness that was as gentle as water, as if it could melt everything in the world. Just now on the war god, Wan Yanhao was preparing to launch a sneak attack on the war god, but he neglected Shenyuan Yingying. Shenyuan Yingying's cultivation was at level 8 martial monarch realm. However, both of them possessed the 5-element sacred body. If Li Lingtian could merge with the war god and control it, Shenyuan Yingying could do the same. When he saw Wan Yanhao, who was ranked 4th among the 10 great martial saints, trying to ambush the war god, he immediately understood that Li Lingtian's considerations were correct. Li Lingtian had calculated that someone would ambush the war god to threaten him. It was originally a precaution, but he did not expect it to really become a reality. Wan Yanhao was a super powerhouse ranked 4th among the 10 great martial saints, a 6th heaven martial saint powerhouse. In this place, no one was his match except for Li Lingtian and Wanyan Lingfeng. Moreover, Li Lingtian was being held back by Wanyan Lingfeng. It was impossible for him to return even if he wanted to. Without the slightest bit of defense, it ruthlessly bombarded the war god. However, he never thought that he would be hit by Shenyuan Yingying's finger. Shenyuan Yingying's cultivation originally couldn't hurt a strong person like Wan Yanhao. However, after fusing with the war god's array, the attack was able to destroy the world. Wan Yanhao was also sent flying. Being injured by a woman with a low cultivation level, even he could not react in time. Of course Yingying is the best. Didn't you see that the trash was stunned? Li Lingtian reached out and stroked Shenyuan Yingying's hair. With a gentle expression on his face, he spoke softly to Shenyuan Yingying. Even though his voice was soft, countless powerhouses could hear him. Instantly, countless experts felt speechless. Facing the 10 great martial saints, he was actually still so calm. Moreover, he even treated Wan Yanhao, who was ranked 4th among the 10 great martial saints, as trash. Swoosh! Wan Yanhao flew up and quickly flew towards Wan Lingfeng. If he did not move after being treated like trash, he would be meeting Li Lingtian's wishes. However, despite the rage in his heart, he did not dare to attack Li Lingtian. They had long witnessed Li Lingtian's terror from the shadows. The 10 great martial saints would not attack Li Lingtian so easily. At this moment, they could only rely on Wan Lingfeng. In the air, Li Lingtian and Shenyuan Yingying, Wan Yanhao and Wan Lingfeng faced each other from afar. Hush! At this moment, all the experts let out a breath of cold air. They noticed that Shenyuan Yingying's cultivation base was improving rapidly. When Shenyuan Yingying's jade-like hand and Li Lingtian's hand held each other's, Li Lingtian's powerful true essence and cultivation base were quickly transmitted to Shenyuan Yingying. The vital essence between the two of them flowed. Shenyuan Yingying was a level 8 martial emperor while Li Lingtian was a level 9 martial emperor at the peak of the perfection realm. Both of them possessed the 5-element sacred body. After dual cultivation, they would share their cultivation base with Li Lingtian as the main and Shenyuan Yingying as the support. If Li Lingtian's cultivation base improved,
Shenyuan Yingying's cultivation base would also improve. Now that there was a difference in their cultivation base, the 5-element sacred body automatically activated when their palms met. Li Lingtian's 5-element sacred body sensed Shenyuan Yingying's 5-element sacred body. Immediately, they circulated their cultivation. This scene stunned all the experts. They could not believe their eyes at all. In just a short while, Shenyuan Yingying's cultivation base had reached the peak of the 9th firmament martial emperor realm. Li Lingtian's cultivation base did not weaken at all. On the contrary, it seemed to have become even stronger. This was the benefit of dual cultivation. With 2 5-element sacred bodies, not only did their cultivation not decrease, but it also improved. Do it. I don't have time to play with you. Let's attack together. Li Lingtian shifted his gaze to Wanyan Lingfeng. This was a 7th heaven martial saint powerhouse. It was his first time encountering such a terrifying powerhouse. Although this powerhouse's cultivation was not as high as the 4 Shenyuan sages, his aura was extremely terrifying. Now that his cultivation had reached the 9th level of the martial emperor realm, Shenyuan Yingying had also reached the peak of the 9th level of the martial emperor realm. The two of them could join forces to defeat each other. As long as he defeated the other party, he would have a greater chance of wiping out the Wanyan family and unifying the Moonsong Kingdom. Great Burning Sky Scripture. Heaven-Devouring Flames. Great Burning Heaven Scripture. Burning Heaven's Wrath. Wanyan Lingfeng and Wanyan Hao looked at each other. They knew that the two people in front of them weren't simple, so they didn't dare to be careless. The true essence in his body had long been circulated to the limit. The spells in his hands were continuously executed. Suddenly, the world turned into a world of flames. Countless experts quickly retreated, not daring to resist this flame. All the armies stopped. This was because it was time for the final battle of the super experts. It was also the final battle of victory and defeat. The 1st martial saint and the 4th martial saint of the kingdom had joined forces to deal with the couple martial emperor powerhouses of the Carefree dynasty. If one side won, the other side would fall apart. This was because they all represented the utmost powerful beings of a faction. If even the utmost powerful beings were killed and defeated, there was no need for the war to continue. Rumble. In the sky, the battle had yet to begin, but in the face of the destructive aura, the space began to tremble. A world of flames with a radius of 1,000 miles appeared. Wanyan Lingfeng and Wanyan Hao floated in the flames as they stared at Li Lingtian and Wanyan Lingfeng coldly. This world was their master. The two of them joined forces and used a top-notch heaven-rank cultivation technique. Their power was earth-shattering. This was the joint effort of the top 10 martial saints and the 4th strongest martial saint. When they used the clan's strongest technique together, the power was 100 times stronger than when they used it alone. The Great Burning Sky Scripture was known as one of the 3 top-notch heaven-rank cultivation techniques in Moonsong Kingdom. When the number 1 of the 10 great martial saints, the 7th heaven martial saint, used it, the power was extremely terrifying. Moreover, there was also the 4th of the 10 great martial saints, Wanyan Hao, who joined forces. The power of their joint forces had already practiced the top heaven-rank cultivation method to the extreme. Wanyan Hao's god art was the Fire Martial Soul's Heaven-Devouring Flames, which was also a top-grade heaven-grade god art. Wanyan Lingfeng also cultivated the burning wrath of heaven from his Fire Martial Soul. Its power was much stronger than Wanyan Hao's Sky-Devouring Flames. Otherwise, the difference between their rankings would be so big. Instantly, 2 destructive divine arts quickly formed in the world of flames. This is a showdown. Prepare to kill him in one move. I didn't expect the two of them to use their strongest cultivation techniques and divine powers. This is to determine victory and death in one move. For experts, a battle like this is decided in one move. In one move, either you die or you win. All the experts began to discuss. The Great Burning Heaven Scripture was the strongest cultivation technique of the Wanyan family in the Moonsong Kingdom. The 2 super martial saints were also the super geniuses and powerhouses of the Wanyan family. They were also the pillars of the Wanyan family. Even a fool would understand that the duo was going to kill Li Lingtian in one blow. In this way, if they won, their reputation would be even stronger. If they lost, they would die or be injured. Flaming Sacred Body. 9 Suns Sacred Flame. 5 Elements Heaven and Earth Transformation. 9 heaven stars. Li Lingtian looked at his opponent's situation, and was certain that his opponent would decide the outcome with a single blow. He did not hesitate anymore. He looked at Shenyuan Yingying, who was looking at Li Lingtian at the same time. The two of them shared a telepathic link and exchanged glances. He didn't need to say anything to understand what the other party wanted to do. Shenyuan Yingying let go of Li Lingtian's hand. Her jade-like hands were constantly changing like butterflies flying through flowers. A series of strange seals appeared in the sky.
A terrifying will appeared beside her. The same will of the 5 elements. All the powerhouses who were familiar with Li Lingtian were shocked by the appearance of the 5 elements will. As Li Lingtian was the only one who possessed the 5 elements Dao intent, he did not expect Shenyuan Yingying to possess it as well. While all the powerhouses were in shock, Li Lingtian waved his hands with a serious expression on his face. Between heaven and earth, the terrifying will of the 5 elements appeared again. The 2 wills of the 5 elements merged in the air. Shenyuan Yingying pointed her finger and the void trembled. Immediately, a terrifying spiritual energy poured down from the 9 heavens. The spiritual energy carried a destructive spiritual pressure. The shocking spiritual pressure and spiritual energy supported the powerful 5 elements Dao intent. The 5 elements Dao intent became even more terrifying. Shenyuan Yingying's 5 elements Dao intent surged toward Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian's 5 elements Dao intent met Shenyuan Yingying's and quickly merged with her. With the integration of the will, Li Lingtian's cultivation base became even more terrifying. Li Lingtian muttered to himself. His tone was calm, but it carried a supreme majesty. At the same time, Li Lingtian's entire body turned into a ball of flames. Within 100 miles, a world of flames was formed. The 9 suns' sacred flame was also unleashed, and it entered the world of flames. The 5 elements of heaven and earth circulated, balancing their bodies so that the 2 of them would not be destroyed. All of his Zhan Yuan trembled, and a 5-colored ball of light appeared in his hand. With a slight explosion, the 5-colored ball of light turned into 99 5-colored spirit beads. The 5-colored spiritual pearl began to revolve around Li Lingtian rapidly. The 5-colored spiritual pearl appeared to have no order, but it carried the principles of heaven and earth and a magical orbit. The area within 100 miles of Li Lingtian was a completely independent world. There was no conflict between the macro world outside the ethereal language. Instead, it had merged into one. The aura and spiritual energy of the great world kept entering the small world. The 5-colored spirit pearl continued to spin. Li Lingtian and Shenyuan Yingying were in the pocket dimension as they unleashed the 5 elements Dao intent. The pocket dimension grew stronger and stronger. This time, the 9 heavenly stars were different from the previous ones. The previous ones were only 200 meters in size. The 9 skies of stars was now 100 miles in size. Furthermore, there were various worlds that could be created within the 9 skies of stars according to Li Lingtian's cultivation method. At this moment, the 9 stars in the sky were a world of flames. However, there was the will of the 5 elements and the sacred body of the 5 elements inside. The power had already exerted the 9 stars in the sky to the extreme. This was how Saint-tier divine powers and mighty techniques worked. With the 5 elements sacred body and the 5 elements will, as well as the cultivation of a 9th heaven martial emperor and the cooperation of Shenyuan Yingying, his current cultivation was more than 10,000 times stronger than before.
Complete victory in the sky. 4 super experts were fighting. Wanyan Lingfeng and Wanyan Hao, Li Lingtian and Shenyuan Yingying each formed a world of flames. 2 worlds of flames appeared in the space. However, one world of flames was 1,000 miles long, while the other was only 100 miles wide. However, the power of the 2 worlds of flames was not the slightest bit different. On Wanyan Hao and Wanyan Lingfeng's faces, both revealed shock and anger. The Great Burning Sky scripture was the Wanyan family's top-notch heaven rank cultivation technique. They did not expect that 2 martial monarch realm experts would also use their best attributes to fight against them. Wasn't this a slap in the face? The entire process seemed to take a long time, but the real time was only a short 5 seconds.
The burning wrath of heaven and the sky-devouring flames had already erupted.
The destructive flaming world supported the 2 heaven-rank mystical powers that were hurtling toward Li Lingtian's flaming world. At the same time, Warwick Lingfeng brought along the destructive blazing world and charged at Li Lingtian like a blazing planet. Li Lingtian waved his hand as well, and two destructive balls of flames shot toward the other party. After exchanging a glance with Shenyuan Yingying, the two of them brought the 9 stars in the sky to meet the other party. The battle between the 9 heavenly stars and the great burning sky scripture. The battle between the 9th level martial emperor realm and the number 1 of the 10 great martial saints. In the sky, the air was constantly burning. Both sides were at the peak of the flames. The world constantly emitted an aura of destruction, and the sky seemed to be charred. Countless experts and armies quickly retreated. Even from thousands of miles away, they could still feel the destructive aura of the flames, making all the armies and experts feel afraid. Boom! Boom! With 2 earth-shattering explosions, the burning wrath of heavens and sky-devouring flames finally struck Li Lingtian's 2 balls of flames. A destructive tearing sound rang out in the sky, and a pitch-black hole appeared. Countless mysterious auras and mysterious objects floated out of the pitched black hole. Countless experts were constantly destroyed by these mysterious objects and auras. However, these destructive objects and auras were burned to ashes when they encountered the 2 flaming worlds. When the attacks collided, Wanyan Lingfeng and the other man revealed a faint smile on their faces. That was because Li Lingtian's flaming light ball disappeared in the blink of an eye before their attacks. The destructive attack was directed at the flaming world of the 9 skies of stars. Rumble! With another loud explosion, the sky-burning wrath and sky-devouring raging flames broke through Li Lingtian's attack and struck the 9 heaven star. The light shield of the 9 stars in the sky trembled, and the 99 5-colored spiritual pearls spun strangely. Then, all the attacks disappeared. Shoo! When the 2 of them saw the terror of the 9 stars in the sky, their smiles disappeared. In the void, the world of flames of the 9 heavenly stars collided with the world of flames of Wanyan Lingfeng. The great burning heaven scripture and the destructive power of a 7th heaven martial saint collided with the power of a saint realm superpower and a martial emperor powerhouse. Crash! Kacha! Rumble! The 2 worlds of flames finally collided. The world of flames did not make any sound, but the other space kept shattering. The air twisted and burned, and the space was destroyed inch by inch. Pow! After an unknown period of time, the 2 worlds of flames continued to collide with each other, but there was no clear victor. At that moment, the 9 heavenly stars that Li Lingtian was in disappeared and he had completely entered Wanyan Lingfeng's flaming world. The world was temporarily quiet. Both Wanyan Hao and Wanyan Lingfeng were puzzled as they watched Li Lingtian and his companion disappear into their blazing world along with the 100-mile-wide blazing world. However, just as they were puzzled, their expressions became fearful. He looked as if he had seen a ghost, and his face was extremely pale. This was because a small world of flames was crashing towards them from within their world of flames. The destructive aura of the raging flames was 10,000 times more powerful and violent than the aura unleashed by the Great Burning Heaven Sutra. The flaming world was quickly devoured by the 9 skies of stars. Rather than being devoured by the 9 skies of stars, it was more accurate to say that it was being devoured by Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian's flaming sacred body would be courting death if it were to unleash the flaming world in front of him. Moreover, he had the 5-element sacred body and controlled the will of the 5 elements. As long as it was within the 5 elements, it would be controlled by him. The 1,000-mile-wide world of flames quickly became smaller and weaker. Li Lingtian looked coldly at Wanyan Lingfeng and Wanyan Hao as a bloodthirsty smile emerged from the corner of his mouth. No one saw this situation because in the world of flames, the spiritual awareness of all the strong people was isolated. This world of flames was actually just an attack that Wanyan Lingfeng and Wanyan Lingfeng jointly used. Boom! At this moment, there was an explosion between heaven and earth. The 1,000-mile-wide world of flames exploded. Destructive flames spread in all directions, and it was as if a rain of flames had fallen from the sky. Flames rained down, destroying the earth and burning the mountains. Countless experts died, and the army continued to dissipate. At this moment, Li Lingtian's 9 heavenly stars appeared in the sky. Warwick and Lingfeng's blazing world was destroyed. Blood flowed from the corners of their mouths and their expressions were extremely ugly. The battle in the blazing world, the battle of cultivation techniques, and the peak battle between martial emperors and martial saints. At this moment, Wanyan Lingfeng was completely defeated. Li Lingtian cultivated the Canon, Flaming Sacred Body, 5 Elements Sacred Body, Heavenly Sword Body, and True Dragon Body. He mastered the 5 Elements Will and Heavenly Flames. Li Lingtian had mastered the divine power of the Sage level, the Almighty's art. Cultivation. Although his cultivation was only at the 9th level of the Martial Emperor realm, in front of the 5 Elements Sacred Body and Xianyuan Yingying's 5 Elements Sacred Body, the fusion of the 2 5 Elements Sacred Bodies was earth-shattering. The two of them spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time, their eyes ashen. His life force gradually disappeared, and his body was quickly turned into ashes. This was the terror of the Inferno world. Either one died, or death would be dissipated by the power of the Inferno. Wanyan Hao and Wanyan Lingfeng used the Great Burning Sky Scripture and their vital essence. In their opinion, Li Lingtian would be easily eliminated after they unleashed the Great Burning Sky Scripture and their 6th or 7th Firmament Martial Saint Realm cultivation base. However, he did not expect Li Lingtian and his companion to be so terrifying. He did not expect the Flaming Sacred Body and all sorts of heaven-defying physiques and talents. Until their deaths, they did not know why they were the ones who failed instead of the seemingly weak Martial Emperor Li Lingtian and the rest. Wanyan Lingfeng, the number 1 Martial Saint of the 10 Great Martial Saints, had fallen. Wanyan Hao, ranked 4th among the 10 Great Martial Saints, had fallen. Li Lingtian, the ruler of the Carefree Dynasty, had won. Li Lingtian's wife, Xianyuan Yingying, from the Freedom King Dynasty had won. In the hearts of all the experts, one conclusion appeared. 2 super martial saints were killed. In just one move, 2 of the 10 great martial saints vanished. 2 storage pouches fell to the ground during the destruction. Without even looking at them, Li Lingtian grabbed them with one hand and they returned to his palm. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. However, after spitting out this mouthful of blood, his spirit was much better than before. This was because he had just used a heaven-defying cultivation technique and skill to defeat the 7th and 6th heavens of the Martial Saint realm. He had also suffered a backlash. After spitting out the blood, his spirit was even better. Young Master D, Young Master D. 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 The army and experts of the Xiaoyao dynasty cheered. He had defeated all the super experts in the kingdom with his heaven-defying power and killed the number 1 expert of the 10 great martial saints. The appearance of a heaven-defying almighty technique shocked all the experts with its destructive power. Sweep the Black Continent and unify the world. Sweep the Black Continent and unify the world. Kill them. Kill them. Kill them. Kill them. Instantly, a heaven-shaking battle cry sounded. All the armies charged towards Moon Song Sky City. At this time, there were no more experts obstructing them. A portion of the Carefree Dynasty's experts joined the army and continued to destroy the Moon Song Kingdom's army. A portion of the Martial Saint powerhouses directly charged towards Moon Song Sky City. This was because the war god was protecting them in the air. It was mainly because Li Lingtian was in the air. Li Lingtian's presence could suppress countless powerhouses. Boom, boom. Bursts of destructive explosions rang out, followed by miserable screams. Moon Song Sky City was constantly being destroyed. There were battles between armies and great battles between experts everywhere. Li Lingtian hovered in the air with a gaze as sharp as lightning. He was like a god of war overlooking the world. Wanyan Nu, come over here. At that moment, Li Lingtian shouted loudly. The aura around his body was barely discernible. He had to do what he had said. He had started insulting his family. The price he had to pay was to make Wanyan Nu regret being born into this world and to humiliate Li Lingtian's family. Swoosh. Wanyan Nu no longer looked like a king. Disregarding his image and identity, he dashed into the city in a flash in an attempt to escape from Li Lingtian. In his eyes, Li Lingtian was an invincible god of war. In front of Li Lingtian, even if he was a 3rd firmament martial saint, he was nothing more than an ant. Die! Li Lingtian's eyes turned cold as he watched Wanyan Nu escape. He circulated all the vital essence in his body and waved his hand. The heavenly extreme Tyrant Emperor Saber appeared in his hand. Suddenly, a destructive saber intent appeared. Then, this saber intent shot toward Wanyan with the power to break the air. The power of the desolation, 10 successive slashes of the tyrannical saber art was earth-shattering. Coupled with his current cultivation and strength, even a fifth heaven martial saint would vanish into thin air with one strike. Hiss! The 10 blade lights ignored the distance and bombarded Wanyan's body in an instant. Wanyan's body was still flying, but after the blade light, Wanyan's body was cut into 2 halves. A scream that resounded through the world sounded. Wanyan was destroyed. Roar! Yes! Yes! Countless experts cheered when they saw Wanyan's destruction. Wanyan was the king of the Moonsong Kingdom. His death was equivalent to the destruction of the kingdom. Now the super martial saint had fallen, the king had fallen, and the Moonsong Kingdom had completely fallen. The end of the war god continued to bombard them. The experts of the Carefree Empire had already entered the Moonsong Sky City. Under the bombardment of the experts, the Moonsong Sky City was continuously destroyed. Millions of soldiers fought against the army of Moonsong Kingdom, and countless soldiers fled. For a time, the Moonsong Kingdom had already reached the point of collapse. Those who obey will prosper, and those who rebel will die. Marshal Saint Ming Luo received Li Lingtian's instructions and shouted loudly. Instantly, the morale of countless troops was boosted. The millions of soldiers of the Moonsong Kingdom had lost all will to fight and submitted to the king and the supreme expert. In less than 10 minutes, all the battles stopped. Li Lingtian unleashed the will of the earth and removed more than 10 mountains. The army began to reorganize Moonsong Sky City because this city would be the territory of the Carefree dynasty in the future. Countless super experts entered the Moonsong Palace and all the people of the Wanyan family were killed. As long as it was a member of the Wanyan family, there was no chance to stay. Li Lingtian was not heartless. It was because those who achieved great things did not care about trifles. Even if they did not remove the roots, they would grow again in the spring breeze. The Moonsong Sky City had a radius of 30 million miles, and the area destroyed by the war was not large. All the armies reorganized and began to restore the original appearance of the Moonsong Sky City. Li Lingtian and the others entered the palace as well. Moonsong Kingdom no longer existed, and Moonsong Sky City no longer existed. Moonsong Kingdom became the Carefree Dynasty, and Moonsong Sky City became the Carefree Sacred City. Li Lingtian was the ruler of the Carefree Dynasty. All the powerhouses who submitted to him were reorganized. The 3 legions were still the main forces. All the armies and experts who had submitted were arranged into the legions, and the strength of the 3 legions became stronger and stronger. The news of the free and unfettered empire attacking the Moonsong Kingdom spread throughout the entire Mystic Moon Empire in less than a day. Li Lingtian of the Freedom King dynasty was at the peak of the 9th Heaven Martial Emperor realm. However, his strength was heaven-defying. He had killed Wanyan Lingfeng and Wanyan Hao, who were ranked first among the 10 great martial saints of Moonsong Kingdom. After killing countless super martial saints, the 3 legions swept across the kingdoms and wiped out the Moonsong Kingdom. The Carefree dynasty had officially appeared in the eyes of the various kingdoms. Li Lingtian's heaven-defying abilities had become a legend among powerhouses. A super divine pill refiner, refining a peerless grade variant great cyclic pellet, and creating the war god with his super powerful array Dao. All sorts of miraculous things were happening to Li Lingtian. Instantly, countless powerhouses and kingdoms were shocked. Rumors were spreading outside, but Li Lingtian and the others were cultivating in Liberty Imperial Palace. The entire Imperial Palace occupied an area of 1 million miles. All the super experts of the War God Legion were in the Imperial Palace, and the other 3 legions were also settled down in the free and unfettered Sacred City to cultivate. They did not have any intention of fighting again. This made countless kingdoms feel at ease. However, 2 months after the free and unfettered dynasty defeated the Moonsong Kingdom, a destructive pressure erupted from the Imperial Palace. Then, a young man and a peerless figure quickly chased after an old man with white hair and beard. In the end, the 3 of them disappeared into the depths of the evil dragon sea. After 10 days, the young man and the girl returned. It was only after a long time that all the super experts and the people of the Xiaoyao dynasty knew. That old man was the ancestor of the Wanyan family. He was already a super expert at the 8th sky of the martial saint realm. He was cultivating in seclusion in the palace. When he came out, he realized that Wang Gua and the Wanyan family had disappeared. At the same time, he was met by Li Lingtian and the two of them fought. In the end, Li Lingtian and Shenyuan Yingying joined forces to kill him in the depths of the evil dragon sea. That time, Li Lingtian was also severely injured. However, even though Li Lingtian was injured, no one dared to covet the Carefree dynasty. Even the Carefree dynasty did not dare to provoke Li Lingtian. Based on Li Lingtian's personality, he knew that if anyone dared to touch him, he would slaughter the entire nation. He was a supreme figure who would take revenge. At the same time, Li Lingtian's 3 legions had replaced all the other legions. The 3 legions now had a total of 6 million soldiers, and all of them were using formations. Each army was capable of fighting against 100 enemies at once. Moreover, Li Lingtian had built the Carefree dynasty into an iron bucket. In less than half a year, 9 huge war gods appeared in the sky above Freedom King dynasty. This war god was identical to the one Li Lingtian was using. Currently, there were a total of 10 war gods in the free and unfettered saint city of the free and unfettered empire. On the war gods, there were hundreds of martial saints and an army of tens of thousands at any time. As long as the order was given, the war god would move out and unleash the power to destroy the world. This lineup shocked countless kingdoms. The war god was terrifying. A single war god was equivalent to an army of 10 million soldiers. It could kill countless martial saints. If all 10 war gods were to move out at the same time, what kind of army would be able to resist them? As the Carefree Kingdom became more stable, Li Lingtian would occasionally appear in the plaza of Carefree Sacred City to explain the cultivation path to some talented disciples and give pointers to some talented alchemists. In a short time, the Xiaoyao Empire became the most prosperous country in the Mystic Moon Empire. This was because the ruler of the Carefree dynasty was a super alchemy saint. He could refine any peerless medicinal pill. This was because the ruler of the Xiaoyao dynasty was a super saint array master who could create any super array. A heaven-defying talent, a heaven-defying martial arts genius, and a master teacher for countless experts. Moreover, Li Lingtian was never stingy. Be it pills or array Dao, he would refine them and give them to other powerhouses for free as long as someone needed them. On this day, Li Lingtian walked out of his room. Seeing the other girls playing happily, his face also revealed a happy expression. In the outside world, he was the strongest person, the ruler of the Carefree dynasty, and the high and mighty alchemy saint. But in front of his wife, he was a good husband. "Uncle, you're done cultivating?" Shenyuan Qingqing was elated to see Li Lingtian come out. She quickly ran over and threw herself into Li Lingtian's arms. Li Lingtian took advantage of the situation to pull Shenyuan Qingqing into his arms and planted a kiss on her cheek. "Yes, I just finished cultivating." Qingqing's cultivation progress is really fast. She's already a Tier 7 warrior spirit. Li Lingtian's face was filled with kindness and a faint smile. Seeing Shenyuan Qingqing's cultivation base, he was extremely satisfied. Now that Shenyuan Qingqing's empty spirit body had been fully activated, the empty spirit pearl had also been refined by her. Although Li Lingtian had helped her refine them, Shenyuan Qingqing could control them now. The ethereal pearl also fused with her, completely activating her ethereal body. Her cultivation speed was extremely fast. "Royal uncle, Aunt said that girls can't be kissed by boys," Shenyuan Qingqing said when she saw Li Lingtian kiss her. Li Lingtian was stunned by her words. Tang Qingyue and the others were also stunned before they burst into laughter. Li Lingtian was amused by Shenyuan Qingqing's words. This little girl was really funny. "Qingqing, uncle is your elder. He loves you dearly. We are saying that you cannot let other boys bully you. If anyone dares to bully you, uncle will teach them a lesson," Shenyuan Yingying said with a smile. She loved her niece very much. In their eyes, Shenyuan Qingqing was like their own daughter. Shenyuan Qingqing was doted on by thousands of people. "Oh, I see. Qingqing, I knew it. Uncle loves Qingqing so much. Why can't I kiss him?" Shenyuan Qingqing looked as if she understood something. Li Lingtian carried Shenyuan Qingqing to Tang Qingyue and the rest and sat on a stool. She started chatting with Tang Qing and the others. Now, there were countless palace maids in the palace. They would not be required to do anything.
Furthermore, there was no battle to be fought at the moment.
Naturally, there was no need to worry about it. He could cultivate in peace, accompany Li Lingtian, and take care of Shenyuan Qingqing at the same time. The girls were all focused on cultivation. However, there were still people outside when he was cultivating. They were worried that Li Lingtian would be lonely when he was not cultivating.
By the way, your cultivation has already reached the 7th level of the Supreme Realm.
Your realm has stabilized.
You can shift your attention to the 5 elements reincarnation and slowly refine some treasures.
Li Lingtian glanced at Tang Qingyue. Tang Qingyue and the rest had already reached the 7th heaven Supreme Realm.
They were 1 realm higher than the 6th heaven they were at during the battle. Although such a cultivation speed was fast for other experts, it was not very fast for them. This was mainly because Li Lingtian had told them that it was best not to use the pills unless they were breaking through a bottleneck. Otherwise, their immunity to the pills would increase when they were trying to break through to the next realm, which would reduce the effect of the pills. Moreover, they were all very young. There was no need for them to raise their realms so high. With him alone, he could deal with some super experts. Yes, during this period of time, Sister Yuyan has already reached the peak of the 7th level of the Supreme Realm.
She should be about to break through to the 8th level. Tang Qingyue nodded and snuggled up to Li Lingtian. Among them, only Shun Mei and Huangfu Yuyan were cultivating. They were about to break through the bottleneck. Hee, I'm the one who's the most lazy. I can't be idle either, lest it's too boring. Shenyuan Yingying giggled sweetly on Li Lingtian's other side. Everyone knew that her cultivation base did not need to be cultivated. As long as Li Lingtian's cultivation base was upgraded, her cultivation base would be upgraded as well. However, the other sisters were not jealous. To them, cultivation was merely an increase in lifespan. During a great battle, a lower cultivation would not affect Li Lingtian. Shenyuan Yingying's cultivation base was of utmost importance now, because she possessed the 5-element sacred body. Whenever Li Lingtian encountered a strong enemy, she would have to join forces to fight him. However, Shenyuan Yingying felt bored when she saw her other sisters cultivating. Alright, today seems to be the day we go to the square, right? Tang Ziming said as she thought of something. Her beautiful eyes were also looking at Li Lingtian. The other girls were also looking at Li Lingtian.
Divine martial order, of course I have to go.
I have nothing to do anyway. Li Lingtian nodded. The Carefree Dynasty had mentioned that they would go to the plaza to explain cultivation to some geniuses and powerhouses once in a while. In Liberty's sacred city, countless powerhouses and geniuses were waiting for Li Lingtian to explain his experience and difficulties in cultivation. His cultivation and talent were publicly recognized as the #1 heaven-defying monster in the world. He had reached the peak of the 9th firmament martial emperor realm in his 20s. He was also a super saint alchemist and a saint array master. Every single one of them was an existence that countless powerhouses looked up to. Li Lingtian's explanation was definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Li Lingtian had mentioned it twice in the past. Both were about cultivation and alchemy. No matter what kind of powerhouse they were, Li Lingtian would easily resolve any problems they faced in their cultivation. As a result, Li Lingtian's reputation and status had reached a new height. Every topic that Li Lingtian talked about was discussed and convinced by countless powerhouses and geniuses. This was because Li Lingtian's cultivation base and cultivation were unmatched. Li Lingtian felt that he had nothing better to do these few days. Since he was free now, he decided to explain to the warriors. After the time was set, countless geniuses and experts came to the square to wait. The Plaza of Liberty's sacred city was 500 miles wide with a huge staircase in the middle. It used to be an arena, but ever since the Liberty dynasty arrived, this place had become Li Lingtian's territory. Li Lingtian was preaching to all the powerhouses and geniuses on the stage. Ever since Li Lingtian's preaching, no one had stepped up to this stage as it was a form of respect for Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian cultivated today precisely for the sake of preaching. Let's go and take a look today. Tang Ziming quickly said as she wanted to follow Li Lingtian out. Naturally, she did not want to miss out on such a fun event. This was her nature. She was naturally lively and mischievous. Even though she was already 22 or 23 years old, the same age as Li Lingtian, she was still like a child. Alright, let's all go and have some fun this time. Anyway, there's nothing much to do in the carefree empire. Li Lingtian smiled as he spoke to Tang Ziming and the others. Soon after, Li Lingtian led everyone out of the palace. A huge and luxurious beast carriage was already waiting in the palace. As the ruler of the carefree dynasty, Li Lingtian's status was transcendent and supreme. The mounts below were also extremely powerful. A beast carriage was the size of 1 or 2 palaces. All the girls entered the beast carriage and chattered non-stop in the beast carriage. Li Lingtian chimed in from time to time. He was in a good mood as he looked at the few beautiful girls. Apart from Huangfu Yuyan and Shun Mei who were cultivating, the rest of them were with Li Lingtian. The beast carriage moved forward at a moderate speed. At this time, countless experts and geniuses had already gathered in the carefree square. Even though Li Lingtian was the one giving the lecture, he did not specify the number of people. However, the people below had already taken care of these matters. Warriors and powerhouses with peerless talent were the closest to Li Lingtian. They were also the ones who had the opportunity to consult Li Lingtian. Tens of thousands of people were already waiting in the plaza. Although these people did not have the chance to receive Li Lingtian's guidance, they were able to gain endless benefits from his explanation. The cultivation experience of a heaven-defying expert was definitely a shocking fortune for a martial artist. It was even equivalent to a powerful cultivation technique. By the time Li Lingtian and the others arrived at the plaza, it was already noon. The huge and luxurious beast carriage made all the powerhouses and citizens recognize Li Lingtian's arrival. This beast carriage symbolized the ride of the ruler of the palace. Young Master D is here. Young Master D is here. Young Master D, Young Master D. Young Master D, Young Master D. All the powerhouses exclaimed when they saw Li Lingtian's arrival. Following that, hundreds of thousands of citizens and powerhouses half-knelt in worship. Although they had yet to meet Li Lingtian, this ceremony was a form of worship for him. After passing through a wide passageway, Li Lingtian and the rest's beast carriage had arrived at the center of the plaza. Then they got off the beast carriage, and all the experts cheered again. Amidst the cheers, Li Lingtian led Tang Ziming and the others up the stairs. Then he waved his hand, and everyone fell silent. The square with hundreds of thousands of people was now completely silent. This was the charm of a person. It could make all the experts cooperate and respect him from the bottom of their hearts. Following that, Li Lingtian began to explain the purpose and significance of cultivation. He started from martial apprentice to martial emperor, and then he explained some of the basic requirements for reaching martial emperor. All the powerhouses were stunned when they heard this. This was because Li Lingtian had yet to reach the martial saint realm. However, he was clear about the requirements for a martial saint and the details of the breakthrough. It was as if he had made countless breakthroughs. After 3 hours, Li Lingtian answered some of the powerhouses' questions regarding cultivation. Every expert who got the answer was excited. The carefree dynasty has just begun, so everyone must strengthen their cultivation. There are thousands of ways to cultivate. Pill Dao, Array Dao, 7 Dao, and all kinds of occupations. As long as you have a certain talent, I will give you guidance. No matter what profession you are in, when you reach a certain level, you can reach a magical level. 10,000 yuan returns to the root. Alchemy can increase your cultivation level. Artifact refinement can also increase your cultivation level. Array Dao can also increase your cultivation level. Every trade produces its own champion. As long as you work hard, you will have a chance to stand out. If you don't work hard, even if you are a heaven-defying monster, you are still trash. I hereby announce that the Xiaoyao dynasty has entered an era of cultivation. All countries and commanderies will receive 10-fold more benefits. Anyone who shows signs of a breakthrough can receive free elixirs from the Divine Pill Pavilion. In any city, fighting is strictly prohibited. After Li Lingtian finished his explanation, he stood up. At the same time, The powerhouses sitting on the ground stood up as well. Hundreds of thousands of citizens and powerhouses would sit on the ground during Li Lingtian's lecture. This was a sign of respect for Li Lingtian. Now that Li Lingtian had stood up, they naturally had to stand up as well. After he stood up, Li Lingtian raised his voice and announced the rules of the Carefree dynasty loudly. Immediately after, waves of cheers erupted. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it was also the first time they had encountered such a thing. All the citizens and experts were extremely excited. This was because this way, they would be able to obtain the opportunity to make a breakthrough and improve themselves. Some geniuses with heaven-defying talents would also have the opportunity to receive Li Lingtian's guidance. Li Lingtian left amidst endless cheers.
After that, the Xiaoyao dynasty entered a period of peace, an era of rapid development, and an era of cultivation.
Everyone cultivated. As long as they reached a certain age, they had to cultivate in the academy set by the Xiaoyao dynasty for 5 years.
In 5 years, half of the time could be used for cultivation, and the rest could be used for training and experience.
Every commandery had a Carefree academy, which was also the highest martial arts sacred land in the Carefree King dynasty. However, this academy wasn't a paradise for the royal family and clans. This was because this place was specially targeted at disciples from ordinary families. However, this place had the best cultivation environment. Moreover, there would be people checking from time to time. If a disciple of the royal family or a clan entered, they would cripple the disciple of the clan and wipe out the genius of the clan. However, as long as they were true geniuses, they could also enter the academy, but they had to obtain the approval of the various countries. Li Lingtian had brought out some of the systems from his previous life and eliminated some of the drawbacks beforehand, causing countless families to tremble in fear. They didn't even dare to send some ordinary disciples into the academy to be gilded. However, for true geniuses, entering the academy was definitely a cultivation paradise. All kinds of systems appeared, and the Xiaoyao dynasty became the most peaceful kingdom in a short period of time. It was also the most popular kingdom because the Carefree dynasty had a saint alchemist like Li Lingtian. As long as one was talented and had a breakthrough, they would have the opportunity to obtain a peerless pill refined by Li Lingtian himself. After everything was arranged, Li Lingtian secretly arranged for countless divine martial army and war god army to enter various countries and commanderies. They would not appear during peaceful times and would only teach some geniuses cultivation and impart Li Lingtian's will. However, as soon as the war started, all the experts would gather in Liberty Sacred City and start a war across the kingdom. At the same time, Li Lingtian's subordinates were constantly searching for medicinal herbs and materials such as demonic beast inner cores and sea beast inner cores to forge the war god in preparation for the war. Li Lingtian stood on the war god with a satisfied expression on his face. The 10 war gods hovered above the palace, forming a silver cloud. They were all living on the war god. If they wanted to go down, they would be teleported down. No one knew where they lived. Feeling the benefits of power no matter what, there would be people below to do it well. With hundreds of thousands of people doing one thing at any time, it was simply a piece of cake. As long as he sat in the palace, someone would send him what he needed. He just needed to cultivate in peace. He was very happy with this power, but he was not infatuated with it. This was because his goal was to become the strongest, to become a martial saint, to become a martial god, to become a heaven-defying mighty expert. The ruler of a kingdom, an empire, or even the entire Black Continent was just a stepping stone for him. He only used such a powerful force to protect his cultivation. Young master, a while ago, the divine martial token moved again. It's like it's awakened. One day, Li Lingtian came out of his training on the war god. Qingling approached Li Lingtian and spoke softly. She reached out her hand to hold Li Lingtian's arm and looked up at him. This is the 6th awakening of the divine martial token, right? Li Lingtian was taken aback as he looked at Qingling with excitement. It was as if he had encountered a super treasure. It was rare to see something that could make him so excited. News from the divine martial hall, young master is right. This is already the 6th awakening of the divine martial token. Qingling nodded and said seriously. He had obtained this divine martial token from the old ancestor of the Moonsong Kingdom when he had killed him. Moreover, Li Lingtian did not mind obtaining the Divine Martial Badge at all because the badge looked simple and unadorned, just like the badge of an ordinary family clan. However, they never expected that the Divine Martial Token and Qing Ling would sense each other's presence at the same time when Qing Ling was accompanying Li Lingtian. The commotion stunned Li Lingtian and Qing Ling. After that, Qing Ling used her consciousness to slowly sense and finally connected with the Divine Martial Token. There was a heaven-defying secret hidden in this Divine Martial Token. However, he did not know what the secret was. With Qingling's cultivation, she could not see through this Divine Martial Token at all. Although Li Lingtian's cultivation base was powerful, he could not sense the Divine Martial Badge at all. There was nothing he could do about it, so he could only let Qing Ling spend most of her time on it. After 3 months, he had finally comprehended the secret of the Divine Martial Token. The Divine Martial Token was the key to the Divine Martial Hall. Only with this token could one have the chance to open the Divine Martial Hall. The Divine Martial Hall was the most mysterious place in the Xian continent. It was a secret plane in ancient times and also the most magical place in the Divine Martial continent. Countless experts wanted to enter the Divine Martial Hall, but none of them had the chance to. As for why Qing Ling could sense the Divine Martial Badge, Li Lingtian and Qing Ling were puzzled. This is the 6th time. There are 3 more times before the Divine Martial Hall opens. If we miss this opening, we'll have to wait another 3,000 years. It's just that we haven't been able to find the location of the Divine Martial Hall. We don't know where it is exactly. Continue comprehending and sensing. I'll think about it. Li Lingtian sat down in the living room and began to ponder. This was a crucial moment. On one side was the Carefree Empire, and on the other side was the Divine Martial Hall. It was a good time for the Carefree Empire to develop. If they left, it was inevitable that other kingdoms would covet them. However, the Divine Martial Hall was a magical place, and it seemed to be related to Qing Ling. It was a place that couldn't be missed. If he missed it, he would miss it forever. It was a difficult decision and Li Lingtian found it hard to make. Half an hour later, Li Lingtian opened his eyes and made a decision. Are you sure it's in the southeast? Li Lingtian opened his eyes and looked at Qing Ling seriously as he asked. That's right. According to the Divine Martial Token, this direction is in the southeast. And counting the time, this Divine Martial Token awakens once every month. When we got it, it had already awakened for the first time. Qing Ling nodded with a serious expression on her face as this concerned Li Lingtian's decision and gains and losses. It awakens once a month. The last time that old fellow came out, it seemed to be because of this Divine Martial Token. However, I didn't expect that after he came out, he would discover that the kingdom was gone and finally attack us. Qing Ling, go tell Qing Yue and the others to stop cultivating. We'll go to the Divine Martial Hall. Li Lingtian pondered for a moment and connected the dots before and after. He finally understood the reason behind it. Then, he asked Qing Ling to pass a message to Tang Qingyue and the others. Since he was going to the Divine Martial Hall, he had to prepare some things. Regardless of whether it was the Xiaoyao Empire, he still had to make many arrangements for the Divine Martial Hall. All right, I'll go tell Sister Blue Moon and the others. Qing Ling's face lit up when she saw Li Lingtian's decision. Although she would support Li Lingtian's decision no matter what, she was naturally delighted when Li Lingtian said that he was going to the Divine Martial Hall. After all, she wanted to know what her relationship with the Divine Martial Token was. She also thought that Li Lingtian had most likely gone to the Divine Martial Hall for her. With that, he ran out and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Li Lingtian began to make plans as he watched Qing Ling leave. No matter what the reason was, he had to go to the Divine Martial Hall once because it was rumored to be one of the 2 most mysterious secret places in the Black Continent. One was the Xiaoyao Immortal Palace, and the other was the Divine Martial Hall. No one had entered these 2 places for tens of thousands of years. Countless experts had forgotten about it, but those with the Divine Martial Badge knew about the existence of the Divine Martial Hall. There were countless secrets in the Divine Martial Hall that were related to Qing Ling. If one could obtain some treasures in there, they would be able to increase their strength by a large margin. Although the Carefree Empire was currently in a critical period of development, as long as other experts knew that he was already in the Carefree Empire, no one in the Carefree Empire would easily waver. Following that, Li Lingtian began to examine the pills he was refining. Refining level 7 pills on the war god was definitely a magical place. This was because the war god had a complete array and a quiet environment. It was the best place to refine pills. The divine martial token had 3 more chances to awaken, which was 3 months. Li Lingtian planned to refine the pills for a month before leaving the Carefree Dynasty and heading southeast to search for the divine martial hall. Following that, the war god continued to produce spirit injections. Cauldrons after cauldrons of peerless grade, 7 great cyclic pellets appeared. After a month, Li Lingtian's cultivation realm had reached its peak. He then announced that he would be in seclusion for a year. Outsiders did not know that Li Lingtian had already left the Carefree Dynasty with Long Da. Before he left, he gave all the pills and matters to Shenyuan Bailing and Marshal Saint Ming Luo. Only Shenyuan Bailing, Marshal Saint Ming Luo, Marshal Saint Yun Hao, and the heavenly monster king knew of Li Lingtian's departure. They knew how terrifying Li Lingtian was. Even if he encountered a heaven-defying powerhouse, he would flee if he could not defeat them. Naturally, she was not worried about Li Lingtian. This was because they had witnessed Li Lingtian's heaven-defying nature. He was almost an undying existence and he had a few powerful friends from the upper realm. Even the princess of the demon realm was his lover. If Li Lingtian were to be in any danger, those supreme beings would secretly take action. Li Lingtian had allowed Long Da, Tang Qingyue, and the rest to stay in the Divine Dragon Ring ever since he left the Carefree Dynasty. He took Qingling and left Xiaoyao Sacred City after disguising himself. He flew in the air and headed southeast. According to the distance and direction Qingling could sense from the Divine Martial Token, the Divine Martial Hall was actually close to the Mystic Moon Empire. The Carefree Empire was billions of miles away from the Mystic Moon Empire. Without a teleportation formation, Li Lingtian and Qingling could only use their best spaceship. They modified the spaceship and added more than a dozen arrays to increase its speed by 100 times. Young master, will there be any traps in this trip? After all, we're already close to the Mystic Moon Empire. The Mystic Moon Empire's strength is heaven-defying and hard to estimate. It's said that the Mystic Moon Empire still has a martial god. No matter how heaven-defying we are, we're no match for the Mystic Moon Empire. If it was in the Mystic Moon Empire, it would definitely attract the attention of the Mystic Moon Empire. Moreover, this Divine Martial Hall is close to the Mystic Moon Empire, so the experts of the Mystic Moon Empire would definitely enter. Those who enter are the absolute experts of the Mystic Moon Empire, or the experts of the superclans. After provoking and killing them, they will bring disaster to our Xiaoyao Empire. Qingling was on the spaceship while Long Da was piloting the spaceship. Meanwhile, she and Li Lingtian were cultivating in the room. After she finished cultivating, Qingling voiced out her worries. Although she used to be Li Lingtian's maid and was a weak girl, she was a smart person. After following Li Lingtian, her aura had improved and she had gained more confidence. Becoming Li Lingtian's wife gave her the right to be arrogant. She was a decisive powerhouse outside, but she was a gentle wife and a good strategist in front of Li Lingtian. She was like Huangfu Yuyan, no matter what happened, she would say it after thinking about it. Indeed, what you're worried about is also what I'm worried about. Of the 36 kingdoms in the Mystic Moon Empire, the Moonsong Kingdom was only an inferior kingdom. Even if our Carefree Empire replaced the Moonsong Kingdom, it was still an inferior kingdom. Moreover, among the 36 kingdoms, the top 3 kingdoms can almost threaten the existence of the empire. This means that their strength is heaven-defying. There's no need to talk about that. The Moonsong Kingdom has a divine martial badge, and the other kingdoms definitely have divine martial badges as well. The people who are going this time are definitely the strongest martial saints. With the addition of the Mystic Moon Empire, the experts this time will definitely be heaven-defying. If we're not careful, they'll all vanish into thin air. At the same time, we'll offend the Mystic Moon Empire and the other kingdoms, so we have to be careful. However, if we offend them, we're not afraid. At most, we'll fight again and unite all the kingdoms. When the time comes, we'll have a decisive battle with the empire. Li Lingtian's expression relaxed as he finished his sentence. To a martial artist, being restrained was a mental demon, and also a hindrance to a powerhouse. Since he dared to provoke the Moonsong Kingdom, he wasn't afraid of the Empire. A war between kingdoms was a result of the incompetence of the kingdoms. If there was a war between kingdoms, the empires would have stopped it because the three empires were suppressing each other and wanted to unify the world. The empire naturally would not allow the kingdoms below to engage in a war. Such a war would affect the foundation of the empire. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for kingdoms to go to war unless there was an opportunity. This opportunity was when the situation in the Xian continent was turbulent and the world was in chaos. Young master is the most powerful. Qing Ling's beautiful eyes were dazed when she saw Li Lingtian's expression. Girls worshipped heroes, the strong, and their husbands the most. Furthermore, a heaven-defying powerhouse like Li Lingtian was considered a monster in the divine martial continent. He had attracted the attention of all the women in the world and she was no exception. However, she was satisfied and excited because this heaven-defying man was her husband. Is that so? Now, I'll let you witness my power once again. A sinister smile appeared on Li Lingtian's face as he stood up and carried Qing Ling into the room. In the room, a series of moans could be heard. The continuous moans lasted for an hour before they stopped. The Mystic Moon Empire. Nothing happened on the spaceship. After all, Long Da's aura was at the Martial Emperor realm. Even in the Mystic Moon Empire, martial emperors were considered overlords. As long as it was not a big battle, martial emperor powerhouses were rarely encountered. After reaching the Martial Emperor realm, powerhouses would cultivate and strive to increase their cultivation strength. Naturally, they would not run around for no reason. Some low-level martial artists felt Long Da's terrifying aura and avoided him far away. Li Lingtian and Qjng Ling had been cultivating in the spaceship. However, Li Lingtian called Tang Qingyue and the others out after they were far away from the Carefree dynasty. After they came out, they were all chattering non-stop, looking extremely happy. Even though they were going on an adventure to the Divine Martial Hall, they were still happy to be out. Warriors naturally did not like to be restrained. They had no restrictions in the palace, but they still liked to travel the world. Moreover, it was the feeling of traveling the world with Li Lingtian. Imperial uncle, have we already left the Carefree Empire? After Shenyuan Qingqing came out, she clung onto Li Lingtian's body. Her cute little face was raised as her crisp voice rang out. Yes, of course. We've already left the Carefree Empire. We're thousands of miles away from the Carefree Empire. So you can come out and play, but you can't go down. If you delay, you won't be able to row. All right, baby, we're here to do something. Don't say that we're from the Carefree Empire. Li Lingtian smiled as he looked lovingly at Shenyuan Qingqing in his arms. This little darling had always been his joy. Just like Ge and Tang Ziming and Ge were his joy. When he saw the two of them, his frustration disappeared. Oh, are you worried that others will have bad thoughts about our Xiaoyao Empire? I know. When Imperial Uncle conquers the entire world, I will say that I belong to the Xiaoyao dynasty. Qing revealed an expression of understanding, which made everyone laugh. Although Shenyuan Qingqing was very young, she was very smart. She knew some things without being told. Sister Jingling, do you know the approximate location of the Divine Martial Hall? Huangfu Yuyan and the others chatted for a while before asking about the Divine Martial Hall. Although she wasn't from the Black Continent, she had heard about the Divine Martial Hall in the Black Continent when she was in the Divine Continent. The Mystic Continent's Divine Martial Hall was even more mysterious and powerful than some of the secret planes in the Divine Continent. Naturally, it was also famous. He didn't expect her to meet him this time, so he was very concerned. The Divine Martial Hall is near the Mystic Moon Empire. Although it's not the Mystic Moon Empire, it's still in the North Jin Kingdom, which is the closest to the Mystic Moon Empire. We're still a month away from the Northern Jin Kingdom. Even if we speed up, it'll still take us 20 days. Jingling knew the most about everything that happened this time. Therefore, she was most concerned about the distance, the map, and some things to take note of. Near the Mystic Moon Empire. It's really difficult in the Northern Jin Kingdom. When Huangfu Yuyan heard about the Mystic Moon Empire, her expression changed. The Mystic Moon Empire was so powerful that even the people in the Divine Continent were terrified. No matter how arrogant the experts of the Divine Continent were, they wouldn't dare to be arrogant in the Mystic Moon Empire. The martial artists of the Divine Continent looked down on the martial artists and forces of other places, but they didn't dare to say anything about the three empires of the Mystic Continent. Moreover, the existence of the three empires was like a taboo in the entire Divine Martial Continent. Very few people dared to casually mention the three empires. She didn't expect the Divine Martial Hall to be at the border of the Mystic Moon Empire. Sister Yuyen, what's so scary about the Mystic Moon Empire and the North Jin Kingdom? It's not like we're going to fight the Mystic Moon Empire. Tang Ziming asked curiously when she saw Huangfu Yuyen's expression. The others all looked at Huangfu Yuyen. From her appearance, Huangfu Yuyen must know something. Otherwise, even her Huangfu family would be so afraid of the Mystic Moon Empire. The Mystic Moon Empire has a mysterious connection with the 10 great clans of the Divine Continent. Although the Northern Jin Kingdom is just a kingdom under the Mystic Moon Empire, it is also inextricably linked to the 10 great families. There is some friction between the two countries. Moreover, there is a mysterious and powerful existence in the Mystic Moon Empire. Therefore, our trip to the Divine Martial Hall is not beneficial to us. Provoking the Mystic Moon Empire might affect the Carefree Empire in the future. I only learned about it from the ancient books of my family. I don't know if that's the case. When we reach that place, we should try our best to be careful. Huangfu Yuyen was extremely serious, her expression grave. Those who were involved with the Divine Continent were not to be trifled with. They all knew that the Mystic Moon Empire was already heaven-defying, and was one of the 3 great empires of the Black Continent. Now that it was connected to the Divine Continent, it was indeed not to be provoked. Qing Xian was a good example. It seemed like Qing Xian was just a country, but there was the Shenyuan family behind it. Could it be that the Mystic Moon Empire still had a heaven-defying existence in the Divine Continent? Okay, you act according to the situation. Li Lingtian gave a simple reply before Huangfu Yuyen told him what she knew and listened attentively. Li Lingtian fell into deep thought after hearing that. Since he was already here, he could not back down. Moreover, in the future, the Xiaoyao Empire would have to conquer the world. The first would be all the kingdoms, and then the Mystic Moon Empire. These two troublesome matters had come together. This was indeed not good news. However, he couldn't easily retreat when he encountered something. Otherwise, it would affect his state of mind and his future cultivation. After pondering for a long time, there was nothing he could do in the end. He could only take it one step at a time. His current cultivation had already reached the 9th level of the Martial Emperor realm. He was not afraid of some martial saints at all. If he could not defeat them, he would escape and come back when his cultivation increased. The spacecraft was flying at high speed. In order not to expose their whereabouts, Li Lingtian and the rest did not leave the spacecraft. 1 month passed. They finally arrived at the Northern Jin Kingdom. Even though he did not leave the spaceship, Li Lingtian could sense all sorts of powerful auras. The further away they were from the Mystic Moon Empire, the more powerful the kingdom was. Now that he understood the strength of the free and unfettered dynasty, any kingdom could wipe it out. Moreover, the powerhouses of these kingdoms were all extremely powerful. Although there were not many martial saints, martial sovereigns could be seen everywhere. A country's strength could be seen from its powerhouses. Li Lingtian had come to the conclusion that the Carefree dynasty had no chance of defeating any kingdom. Unless there were dozens of war gods in the Carefree dynasty's army, there might be hope. However, the experts of these kingdoms were heaven-defying. He simply could not deal with them alone. Cultivating on the spaceship, he didn't understand what was going on outside. He didn't know what the situation outside was like. The border between the Mystic Moon Empire and the North Jin Kingdom was separated by an endless mountain range. This was also the boundary between the Mystic Moon Empire and the North Jin Kingdom. Similarly, this place was not governed by anyone. God's Fall mountain range. The entire mountain range was filled with an aura of endless destruction. Spirit chi, demonic chi, and some mysterious auras fused together. Ordinary experts could only hunt demonic beasts at the borders. This place became a training paradise for the disciples of the mystic Moon Empire and other kingdoms. A hell for the weak and a paradise for the strong. The mysterious and destructive aura and all kinds of demonic beasts made countless experts stop within 5,000 kilometers of the God's Fall mountain range. Even a Supreme Realm expert would only dare to enter 10,000 miles at the edge of the God's Fall mountain range. If they entered any further, they would be killed by the mysterious aura and demonic beasts inside. Even if they were not killed by the demon beasts, they would still be corroded by the mysterious aura. There was endless and dense spiritual chi inside, but there was also endless and dense demonic chi, and other auras. When these auras mixed together, they became an aura of destruction, making it impossible to cultivate. However, during this period of time, countless superpower houses came to this God's Fall mountain range. In the past, martial emperor powerhouses were rarely seen. However, in the past half a year, there had been a continuous stream of super martial emperor and martial saint powerhouses coming here. However, among the martial emperor powerhouses who came here, only the ninth heaven could enter within 100,000 miles. Most of those who entered came out and looked neither human nor ghost. Upon seeing such a situation, countless martial emperor powerhouses could only stop. They could kill some powerful demonic beasts at the edge so that their trip would not be in vain. However, there were countless martial saints who never came out after entering. No one knew if they were dead or alive. I wonder what kind of treasure is inside. I've seen more than 30 martial saints enter in the past half a year. I wonder how many more martial saints have entered other places. I've also encountered countless martial saints who entered one after another. If it was in the past, we would have been killed long ago. However, these martial saints are too lazy to care about weaklings like us. There should be some treasure inside. Otherwise, a martial saint would not have entered. I wonder how many of those who entered the depths will come back alive. 2 days ago, I saw Venerable White Cloud from the Mystic Moon Empire enter. Venerable White Cloud is nothing. Our young Master Xueqi of the North Jin Kingdom has also entered. Young Master Xueqi is an expert at the peak of the 7th sky of the martial saint realm. I've also discovered a few famous super experts entering. At the edge of the God's Fall mountain range, martial monarchs and martial supremes were everywhere discussing. If these experts were in the Azure continent and the Azure continent, they would be the overlords of a region. However, in this place, he was actually like a low-level disciple. When these martial artists mentioned the depths of the God's Fall mountain range, their faces all revealed fearful expressions, as if there were ghosts inside. God's Fall mountain range, swoosh. In the depths of the God's Fall mountain range, superpower houses constantly flew past. From time to time, shocking explosions could be heard, all of which were the collisions of shocking spiritual chi and demonic chi. In such a mountain range, all the experts did not want to fight, nor did they want to fight with demon beasts. Because they didn't dare to cultivate inside, it would be very difficult to recover after consuming true essence. If they fought with experts and demon beasts, they would be killed by other experts after consuming their true essence. Rumble. Boom. Boom. Roar. Roar. Even so, there were still countless experts who encountered demonic beasts. The terrifying demonic beasts were all at the 6th or 7th rank, and there were even existences at the 8th rank. No matter how powerful a martial saint powerhouse was, he did not have the slightest advantage in such a place. Killing a demonic beast would also consume true essence. Those who saw demonic beasts would mostly hide and escape, not daring to fight with them. The experts who could not escape could only admit that they were unlucky. The God's Fall mountain range, which was tens of millions of miles long, had become the separation zone between the Mystic Moon Empire and the North Jin Kingdom. The reason why the two countries didn't have a war was because of the existence of this mountain range. If the North Jin Kingdom wanted to invade the Mystic Moon Empire, they would have to cross this mountain range. However, the mountain range was tens of thousands of miles long and was filled with danger. Even the army did not dare to enter. If they went around this mountain range, they would have to pass through other kingdoms. The other kingdoms would not let the Northern Jin Kingdom pass by. Of course, it was very difficult for the Mystic Moon Empire to wipe out the North Jin Kingdom. Even if other kingdoms attacked, they wouldn't be a match for the North Jin Kingdom. With the other two empires eyeing them covetously, the Mystic Moon Empire naturally wouldn't easily fall out with the kingdoms below. However, this time, the Northern Gene Kingdom had excluded countless super experts to enter. No one understood why. Sage Emperor, the North Gene Kingdom has sent countless super experts into the God's Fall mountain range. We have to be on guard. If the North Gene Kingdom opens the Divine Martial Hall, they will be able to enter the Mystic Moon Empire with this passage. In the Holy Moon Palace of the Holy Moon Empire's Holy Moon City, 10 Ninth Heavenly Layer Martial Saints stood in the main hall. In front of the throne was a thin veil that blocked the divine sense. The people below could not see the Saint Emperor behind the veil, but none of the 9th Heavenly Layer Martial Saints dared to show any disrespect. The person who spoke was the 10 Great Masters of the Mystic Moon Empire, Ling Qingfeng, who was also one of the 10 Great Elders of the Mystic Moon Empire. His cultivation was extremely deep, and he was at the 9th sky of the Martial Saint realm. His strength had reached a terrifying level. Let them make a scene. It's impossible for them to open the Divine Martial Hall. A faint voice sounded from behind the throne. The voice was crisp and sweet. No one would have thought that the ruler of the Mystic Moon Empire was actually a woman. No one had ever seen the true face of the Holy Emperor of the Mystic Moon Empire, so they all thought that the ruler of the Mystic Moon Empire was a man. Only the elders and the top 10 masters of the Mystic Moon Empire knew of the Mystic Moon Empire's Saint Emperor. However, they had never seen the Saint Emperor's true face. Your subordinates will obey. Sage Emperor, people from the Sky Blue Empire and the Sky Sun Empire have also entered the God's Fall mountain range. Should we send people over? Another elder asked the Divine Emperor. During this period of time, my cultivation has reached a bottleneck. I need to cultivate in peace. You don't have to worry about these things. I have plans. You can all leave. Behind the throne, the sweet and clear voice sounded again, and there was a hint of impatience in the voice. When the 10 elders heard this tone, they were all stunned, and their faces revealed a fearful expression. They hurriedly bowed and left. If they were a little slower and provoked the Sage Emperor, they would not have a good ending. This subordinate will take his leave. The 10 elders disappeared in the blink of an eye, running faster than ghosts. In an instant, the hall was extremely quiet. There was no longer any sound. Kiki kiki. These old fellows only know how to trouble Bengong. Sigh, I still prefer a plain life. I like the life of the past, but I wonder if he will go to the Divine Martial Hall? Behind the throne, the crisp and sweet voice let out a heavenly laugh. However, after the laughter, there was a hint of impatience in his voice, as well as a hint of nostalgia, anticipation and longing. It was as if he had recalled some beautiful memories. Sage Emperor, your cultivation has reached a bottleneck. It's time for you to cultivate quietly. Don't think too much about anything else. With these old guys in the Mystic Moon Empire, there shouldn't be any problems. Another crisp voice sounded. Although this voice was crisp, it was less clear and ethereal than the first voice. Moreover, when he spoke, there was more or less a trace of respect. Who said that I'm going to cultivate? Let's go and prepare. Don't let others know. Let's go to the Divine Martial Hall to take a look. The woman called the Saint Emperor said faintly. Afterwards, the hall fell completely silent. The other kingdoms had all sorts of arrangements and sent countless super powerhouses into the God's Fall mountain range. This time, the 9 of you will go together. Don't disappoint me. As long as the Divine Martial Hall is opened, you can directly pass through the God's Fall mountain range. Take care of this matter for me. In the Northern Gene Kingdom, King Lai was emitting a strong aura of fire, but his tone was extremely cold, as if it came from hell. We will obey. With the 9 of us at the 8th sky of the Martial Saint realm working together, it's enough to open the Divine Martial Hall and subdue everyone else. In the palace, after the 9 super experts finished speaking, their figures disappeared. Lai Wuxia watched as the 9 experts disappeared. A faint smile appeared on his face as he waved his hand. Suddenly, an ethereal aura appeared in front of Lai Wuxia. After this aura appeared, it turned into a middle-aged man in black. The aura of the middle-aged man in black disappeared in an instant, and he looked like an ordinary person. Shadow, go on behalf of this king. This king can't count on these trash at all. Lai Wuxia looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. When he spoke, his face was filled with politeness. He did not dare to show the slightest disrespect to the middle-aged man in black. "Don't worry, Your Majesty. I will definitely open the Divine Martial Hall and bring back the treasures inside. However, Your Majesty, someone from above is already urging you. I hope Your Majesty can hurry up." Shadow nodded and disappeared. As he disappeared, a faint voice sounded. Lai Wuxia's face twitched when he heard Shadow's words. He smiled bitterly. Li Lingtian and the others were cultivating on the spaceship. A month later, Long Da informed Li Lingtian that they had arrived at the northern Jin kingdom. Li Lingtian then ordered General Long's spaceship to stop and called Tang Qingyue and the others into the Divine Dragon Ring. He brought Long Da and Qingling to an inn. After asking for 2 separate courtyards, he set up a few formations. He called Tang Qingyue and the others out again. Although they were free on the spaceship, it was not as good as being on the ground. Moreover, they had already entered the northern Jin kingdom, which was hundreds of millions of miles away from the free and unfettered dynasty. When the time came, they would have to enter the God's Fall mountain range. Tang Qingyue and the others naturally couldn't show themselves in the God's Fall mountain range. They could only cultivate in the Divine Dragon Ring. Now that he had the time, he should take a good rest outside. After settling down, Long Da went out to inquire about some news in the northern Jin kingdom, mainly about the Divine Martial Hall. Long Da had been with Li Lingtian for a long time and had learned Li Lingtian's way of handling things. He was very good at handling human affairs. With him gathering information, Li Lingtian was naturally too lazy to go out and do it himself. A day passed, and Long Da had also inquired about the news. "Young master, the Divine Martial Hall is in the God's Fall mountain range. It's not a secret among the experts of the North Jin Kingdom. Although there are countless super powerhouses entering the God's Fall mountain range, the God's Fall mountain range is fraught with danger. Very few people dare to go deep inside. Moreover, entering the Divine Martial Hall requires a Divine Martial Token. The God's Fall mountain range is the border between the Mystic Moon Empire and the North Jin Kingdom. We are still 5 days away from the God's Fall mountain range." Long Da replied respectfully and told Li Lingtian everything he had heard that day. After that, he stood respectfully at the side and waited for Li Lingtian's instructions. You go down first. We'll enter the God's Fall mountain range in 2 days." Li Lingtian waved his hand and fell into deep thought. The geographical location of the God's Fall mountain range was indeed a bit strange. He was also worried that the Northern Jin Kingdom and the Mystic Moon Empire might have some kind of trap. If the 2 countries fought over the Divine Martial Hall, the experts who entered the Divine Martial Hall would become cannon fodder. Subsequently, Li Lingtian relayed the news to Tang Genji and the others. They could not come up with a solution. Since there was nothing he could do, he could only take it one step at a time. Li Lingtian allowed Tang Qingyue and the others to rest while he began cultivating. Entering a dangerous place like the God's Fall mountain range, and there were countless superpower houses and powerful demonic beasts, he had to adjust his mental state to the best state. This was the most basic requirement of a true expert. He had to maintain his best condition at all times to deal with all kinds of dangers and challenges. 2 days later, Li Lingtian, Long Da, and Qingling left the inn and headed straight for the God's Fall mountain range. Qingling's sense of the God's Fall mountain range was getting stronger and stronger. Moreover, the guidance on the Divine Martial Token was not wrong. It was the location of the God's Fall mountain range. Li Lingtian and Qingling were even more eager to know what was inside the Divine Martial Hall. After flying for 5 days, they finally arrived at the God's Fall mountain range. Feeling the aura of the God's Fall mountain range, Li Lingtian was horrified. This was the first time he had encountered such a terrifying aura. Spiritual chi, demonic chi, and all kinds of auras. These auras fused together to form a destructive aura. It was definitely a dangerous thing to enter. Qingling's cultivation couldn't withstand it at all. In the end, Li Lingtian had no choice but to call Qingling into the Divine Dragon Ring. Even though she was a 7th Heaven Martial Venerable, Li Lingtian did not want her to take the risk. In any case, they had already arrived at the God's Fall mountain range. As long as they followed the other powerhouses, the general direction would not be wrong. Furthermore, most powerful existences were located in the deepest parts of the mountain range, including the divine martial hall. "9 super martial saints, let's go in," Li Lingtian shouted at the dragon after he called Qing Ling into the divine dragon ring. When he finished speaking, his figure had already disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already shuttling through the God's Fall mountain range at high speed. His figure was like a flood dragon, and the air was distorted. Wherever he passed, there was no fluctuation in space, as if no one had passed by. This strange situation shocked countless experts. The air was distorted, but there were no fluctuations in space. This was the first time he had seen such a strange situation. Moreover, wherever Li Lingtian went, the mysterious destructive aura would automatically disperse and it did not affect him at all. Longda watched Li Lingtian leave and flew away quickly. He had been with Li Lingtian for a long time and Li Lingtian had dragon energy. Even if he was thousands of miles away, Longda could still sense Li Lingtian's presence. Naturally, he was not worried about losing him. Besides, his cultivation base was similar to Li Lingtian's. Moreover, Li Lingtian was only flying and did not engage in battle. Hence, his speed was similar to Li Lingtian's. Swoosh, swoosh. In the forest in the sky, a white figure and a gray figure were advancing rapidly. Such speed did not care about the powerful demonic beasts and experts in front of them at all. To them, since they had already entered the God's Fall mountain range, there would naturally be a great battle. There was no need to care too much now. They didn't provoke other experts and demonic beasts, but they weren't afraid either. After flying for half a day, Li Lingtian came to a stop.
His expression was grave and his eyes were filled with horror.
The aura of this place had reached its peak. This place has such a dense and mysterious aura. I wonder what this aura is? Li Lingtian stopped and looked into the void. The void was also filled with a gray aura. Although he could see the sky from the mountain range, it gave off an unreal feeling. The mountain range was filled with mysterious auras. These auras were the combination of several auras. Moreover, the deeper they went, the denser the aura became. In the air, the aura was almost tangible, like a thick fog. The aura corroded the cultivation and true essence of the experts, and even the protective barrier of ordinary experts was directly corroded. Although the protective shield around Li Lingtian's body was trembling slightly, it showed no signs of shattering. Naturally, this little bit of corrosive power was not a threat to him. Any defense could ignore any aura. Moreover, he had countless defenses on his body. Even a martial saint expert could not break through them. However, he was also shocked when he saw such an aura. After all, this aura was too mysterious. It was his first time seeing it and he had never heard of it before. Moreover, the number of experts they encountered along the way was decreasing. Up until now, they had basically not encountered any experts. However, these powerhouses were all martial saints. There were very few 9th Firmament Martial Emperor powerhouses and he had basically never seen them before. Young master, we've flown about 100,000 miles. This speed is many times slower than outside. We haven't seen any other experts. Could it be that we've already entered the deepest part? Longda came to Li Lingtian's side and looked around. As Li Lingtian's bodyguard, he had to observe his surroundings at all times to prevent any attacks from powerhouses or demonic beasts. Although his cultivation base was not as good as Li Lingtian's, he would definitely be able to fend off any sneak attacks on Li Lingtian. At their realm, a distance of 100,000 kilometers was simply a matter of time. However, they had only traveled 100,000 kilometers after flying for more than half a day. The aura of this place was too strange. It could actually slow down the flying speed of experts and even devour the cultivation and true essence of experts. The consumed true essence was devoured by the air. This place was like a black hole that devoured everything. Be careful. The aura of this place has no effect on me. You'd better display your dragon energy. In this place, even if others know that you have the body of a true dragon, they won't be surprised. Li Lingtian did not answer Longda's question but reminded him instead. He had cultivated the true dragon body barrier, the heaven and earth reincarnation technique, and the holy demon true understanding. Naturally, He was not afraid of the aura here. Moreover, he was excited because this aura was completely suitable for his cultivation. It was as if it was specially created for him. In the past, he had either cultivated the Saint Demon's quintessence, the true dragon body barrier, or the heaven and earth reincarnation technique. Basically, they had never cultivated at the same time before. However, at this moment, this aura actually met the requirements of cultivating at the same time. However, he couldn't cultivate here yet because he hadn't found the Divine Martial Hall yet. The matter of the Divine Martial Hall was more important. Moreover, it wasn't safe here, so he couldn't cultivate in peace. Thank you for your reminder, young master. I understand. Long Da was touched and immediately displayed his dragon energy. With the protection of the dragon energy, it had a strong resistance to the mysterious aura outside. At least it would not be easily corroded. It's only 100,000 miles outside, but there's still some time before we reach 10 million miles. The God's Fall mountain range stretches for tens of millions of miles. Even in the depths, it's still millions of miles away. Therefore, we still have to fly outside for a period of time. Li Lingtian looked ahead and called Qingling out. A ray of light enveloped Qingling. Qingling's cultivation was still at the 7th level of the martial honored realm. She could not resist the corrosion of the aura in this place. He could only help Qingling protect her. After Qingling came out, he used his soul consciousness to sense the divine martial token to confirm that he was heading in the right direction. Li Lingtian called Qingling back into the divine dragon ring once again, and continued to fly with Long Da as they headed deeper into the cave. Swoosh! After flying for a short while, Li Lingtian heard a soft sound of air being torn from behind. There were 9 air-piercing sounds, but these 9 air-piercing sounds were extremely orderly, as if they were made by one person. Li Lingtian was astonished by such a strange occurrence. After giving Ambassador Long a look, the 2 figures flashed and disappeared into the air. The moment he disappeared, 9 figures flew over at an extremely fast speed. Moreover, the 9 figures were all in sync and their movements were exactly the same. The 9 8th Sky Martial Saints were emitting a destructive aura. Their faces were filled with killing intent. None of the 9 people moved. They all carried a mysterious aura. It was like a strange array formation, or rather, a joint array formation. 9 figures landed, their eyes looking around for something. I clearly discovered the existence of 2 auras in this place. How did they disappear just like that? One of the experts said coldly. His face was filled with confusion and a bloodthirsty smile appeared on his face. He should be hiding. Judging from his aura, he should be at the 8th or 9th level of the Martial Emperor realm. It's just right for us to devour true essence and blood essence to cultivate. The other expert said indifferently as he started to search with his divine sense. From their tone, he discovered that the 9 experts had cultivated a vicious cultivation technique, devouring the true essence and blood essence of the experts to increase their cultivation. Let's go. Forget it. When we meet a martial saint by ourselves, we'll kill him before we cultivate. We shouldn't delay His Majesty's matters now. The leader of the powerhouses said. After searching for so long, they still could not find any traces. The other party's concealment skills must be very good. If they delayed things here because of the 2 martial monarch realm experts, they would be punished when they returned. Then let's go. Let's go to the Divine Martial Hall first and open it. At that time, our army will be able to pass through the God's Fall mountain range. However, His Majesty the King has to make us take a detour. I really don't understand. Swoosh. Don't talk nonsense. Let's go this way. No one will suspect our identity. Hurry up. Don't let others take the lead. After searching for a while, the 9 powerhouses gave up after failing to find Li Lingtian and his companion. He quickly flew into the distance. His voice became softer and softer until it completely disappeared. Li Lingtian quickly extended his divine perception until the powerhouses were 3,000 miles away. He then revealed himself and reappeared at his original spot. Long Da came out at that moment and stood beside Li Lingtian. What a terrifying cultivation. These 9 people are good at attacking together. I wonder what kind of expert can defeat 9 8th Sky Martial Saints. Li Lingtian said calmly as he looked in the direction where the 9 figures had left. he felt even more solemn. He knew that countless experts would enter the divine martial hall, but he did not expect such a powerful expert to enter. From the sound of these experts, he could tell that they were definitely from the North Gene Kingdom. In the Mystic Moon Empire, only the North Gene Kingdom and the Mystic Moon Empire were at odds. If they were experts from other kingdoms, they would not hide their identities. The power of 9/8 Sky Martial Saints working together was shocking. Li Lingtian would not be able to deal with even one of them, let alone working together. If they worked together, he did not know what kind of powerhouse they could deal with. Young Master's 9 Heaven Stars and Young Madam's 5 Elements Reincarnation are not weaker than these experts. It's just that their cultivation is a little low. If they reach the Martial Saint realm, they won't be afraid of these super experts. Long Da was also shocked. He did not expect 9/8 Heaven Martial Saints to gather together. Moreover, it seemed that they often stayed together. However, when he thought of Li Lingtian's Heaven-Defying abilities, he felt more at ease. As long as Li Lingtian, Huangfu Yuyan, and the rest could improve their cultivation, they would have a chance of defeating these powerhouses. It's easier said than done to become a martial saint, Li Lingtian said lightly before he flew forward at high speed. Long Da quickly followed. Li Lingtian knew that if he were to reach the martial saint realm and join forces with Huangfu Yuyan and the rest, he would have some confidence in dealing with these 9/8 firmament martial saints. However, Tang Qingyue and the others were all at the 7th level of the Supreme Realm while he was only at the 9th level of the Martial Emperor Realm. It was even more difficult than ascending to the heavens to become a martial saint. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.